We in the rum shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. We in the rum shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. We in the rum shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
We in the rum shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring a rum, bring it come in the rum shop talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring a rum, bring it come in the rum shop talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Rum Shop Talk.
We in the rum
Rum
shop.
Shop. Hey, who it is that what's the
Gotta
guy's
ask
name?
Satish Ramsaran.
Yeah, I find we should plug that guy. You see like how Pakistani does get plugged for the national anthem?
Modern podcast. We in
Yeah.
the rum shop.
You understand? So we
That's
hope you
not
enjoy.
bad song. If you do a video, anyway, start the show now.
I'm gonna start the show. All right, no problem. So we're here. It's Thursday. Today's the 8th of September. It is a very sad day in the UK. As a matter of fact, they shut down everything. Most of you will know the Queen has passed away at the age of 96. I thought she was older than that, but maybe that's because I around 45 years and she's always been around. I know I thought she was older than that, but the Queen passed away. They shut down everything in the UK. No, everything shut down. You know. When
Man.
let me tell you something. When England shut down gamble, you know it's serious. They don't ever shut that down.
For real.
I don't even know if football will be
She's
played
an
over the weekend.
institution.
Yeah.
You need one of those?
Oh no, I got
Show
it.
on
Oh, we
live
have
on
stationery.
What?
Yes, we're live. Hello, Felicia. That is Felicia
Yeah,
Holder.
Holder.
Felicia Holder will be moving over to the Commission of Inquiry very soon, so that she could supply them with pens,
Hey,
with pens,
Felicia,
paper.
They need you in the Commission of Inquiry.
Scanners.
It's your fast I got pen and paper. What?
Scanners.
If Felicia was in the Commission of Inquiry.
So she'll be hired by the Commission. She's offering her services. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about that, the Commission of Inquiry. Philip, what's your thoughts on that? You saw the front page of the paper.
Brother man, they have so many things to discuss today. But first
Yeah.
of all, I want to say that there are people who have strong feelings for and against the monarchy as a whole.
As a whole, yeah.
Right? Because colonialism and slavery has left a scar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of people who just miss massa.
Oh, yes.
No, serious.
Oh, yes.
They don't stop to think and say, you know, PNM walking you and say, okay, we need to try something new. Take up in the recipe and see if we get something, a new callaloo, a new pela, a new something.
Yeah.
They're not saying that. They say go back for the
Go
queen.
back to the Queen. Better we go back and let the British rule, you know.
It's like a woman who get abused in a relationship. She leave that man, she go to the next relationship. That man hit her, she gone back by the first man. Yeah, again, legs anyway. But they have 1.4 billion or 7 billion other men outside there.
Yeah.
And we as a people in Trinidad and Tobago, because it's in this pot here we operate, right?
Right.
So I have to remember when my son called and said the Queen is on her deathbed because his family, his grandmother is British, his mother is British, but he is British. He born in England. So when he called and said the Queen is on her deathbed, to him, his mother and his grandmother, the Queen is somebody. They lived in an England where the Queen is a central institution.
Right.
The monarchy, Buckingham Palace, and all of that back of that, right? But that doesn't apply to me. What I know of the Queen is as a student of history. But as an aspiring politician and an aspiring office holder, I have to make sure that the words that I say do not alienate anybody.
Okay.
And I found that today, trying to send something like condolences on the passing of the Queen was a difficult thing.
Yeah.
Because there are people, I mean, you have a news feed, I have a news feed, you see.
You will see it.
There are some people who crying, and there are some people who celebrate it. I mean, it is insane. The Trinidad and Tobago is so divided over things. But in this case, it's really the perspective you're coming from.
Some people some people still live with the scars. You know, and that's something we
see,
do.
and
We
I
just
wanna-
carry it for a while and till it's overkill. Sometimes it's hard to let go.
There's that, but the world has learned that the purpose of power is to get more power. So if you become king of an island, then you amass an army and take over our next island and get their army and take over our next one, because empires, this whole history of our humanity has been the age of empires.
That's right. Empires have been built on war.
We live in the American empire that is currently being challenged by China.
Correct.
Belt and Road is an overt attack. I don't want to lose track of what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to get people to understand that we've always lived in empires, and that's humans organize themselves into power structures to oppress other humans.
That's right. That's right.
So the monarchy and Britain, because England is a little island, you know.
Yeah.
England is a little island off of Europe. England is not even in Europe. It's a little island off of Europe. In fact, in that island, England, it shares that island with Ireland and Scotland.
And Scotland, yeah.
So just that is a little commonwealth by itself.
That's right.
The fact that that little island could have begat an empire so huge prior to World War II, because Hitler destroyed the British Empire.
Yes.
That was Hitler's greatest achievement.
Right.
And World War I started as an argument between three families, three cousins in one family: the Tsar of Russia, the King of England, and the Chancellor of Germany.
Germany,
they were first cousins. But Great Britain, from that little tiny island, England, went on, and as in the 16th century, in the 1600s, they just became something that you could consider a cohesive nation that could look beyond itself, beyond the white cliffs of Dover, because Dover is the closest place to Europe, and Dover to France is the connection where all the invasions have taken place. The Romans came into England in the first place, and all that drama. But the point I want to make to you, to come from that tiny little island that was subjugated by Rome, to become an empire yourself, where there was a time where they said the sun never sets on the British Empire. That means no matter how the world turned, one part of the British Empire was always in daylight. Remember, Britain was, India was Britain,
Yeah.
Pakistan was Britain,
yeah.
Hong Kong was Britain.
Yeah.
Plenty parts of Africa. I mean,
I think people, the other part that too, well, all the plundering they did over the years, the wealth that they accumulated, people have a serious problem with that too.
Today,
the wealth.
Boy, nowadays, to get knighted by the Queen is such an honor.
Yeah.
But people forget that a knight is a successful warrior who was trained to defend the king or the queen in their pursuits of conquest.
That's right.
This queen, when she came to power, the age of the monarchy was over. They didn't have the political power anymore.
Right.
Right now, the Kardashians have more power than King Charles.
Yeah.
You understand? No joke.
Yeah.
But what a lot of
That's a troubling thing, though, eh? That the Kardashians have more power and influence and...
But
go ahead, yeah.
No, but what a lot of people hold in is that tongue-in-cheek, you will say that the Habsburgs, because the British monarchy are Germans.
Okay.
This queen, she was a German.
German. All right.
In fact, her husband was accused of being a Nazi sympathizer and all kind of drama. You know?
Ah, yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
Prince Philip?
Philip, yeah.
Philip, my dear. My namesake. But what a lot of people...
You remember when he died?
Yeah.
The kind of messages. The same thing, you know.
Yeah.
But I think his one was worse. His one was worse.
He was not a loved man. She, because she was there so long, and because, history is recorded for the victor. They say until the lion learns to shoot a gun, history will have to be written by the hunter. But she was there so long that people disassociated her from the monarchy that she represented.
Right.
So she became an institution by herself, to the point where so many things tried to break up the monarchy. The monarchy may not survive now,
Well,
monarchy,
I think that's the biggest issue right now.
the Queen Regent or the Princess
Yeah.
Regent, or whatever they want to call Camilla and all of that.
Yeah.
England gonna tear itself apart.
I think
over-
so.
They never forget Princess Diana and what Charles do. And all that is still to come. But what I was saying is that this queen was there so long that she became an institution herself. And she held the monarchy together. She held the monarchy together over Charles and Diana. She held the monarchy together. There is a strong movement in England to cancel the monarchy. You know? It's a strong-
Really?
And what it represents.
Wow.
There was a group called the Parliamentarians. That's how we end up with the word parliament, is where we go to talk, you know. That challenged the British monarchy to get what we know as a Westminster system of something like democracy. And knowing all of that history, I know that
This
This-
is Stephen Matteson.
Stephen in the rum
Looks,
shop,
it looks like Stephen Matteson. Yeah. Stephen come in looking real down to earth, boy. He leave his big shot clothes at home all year.
well, you see,
We'll find out if that's on account of the Queen passing.
be careful, watch me.
And we'll
Let
find
me
out what
be
the access
careful,
is.
you see, yeah, you jump in.
Yeah, you jump in, man. I see you come simple today, like you get called off work early on account of the
Baba,
Queen
they
passing.
are wrongs, Matterson Ridge.
I was off for a while.
All right. So-
I also announced your bonus to do something. I thought that I'd back up earlier.
All right. But they will
Yours-
come in, we'll get
yours-
your mic up and everything.
You was
You gotta get mic up now. You gotta get mic up.
You
All right.
were following our conversation on your way here, because all we're talking about is the past. All we've spoken about is the,
The
passing
Queen.
of the
The
Queen.
passing of the Queen. And when we now reach the part where the monarchy might be in a position now where it could tear itself apart because the Queen was holding it
Without
together.
her, she held it together. You know.
No, I remember he was supposed to be.
We live.
We live, but we just let me get a mic for Matteson. Got the mic.
His mic on the table live.
Nah. It's not live, so let's mic him up. But in the meantime, hold your thought there, Stephen.
All I wanna.
Go ahead.
If I could
Go ahead, Phillip.
finish.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish
This-
right in the meantime.
Felicia, somebody need to keep eye on that door. If I could finish this point,
All right, Ram Kumar. Hey.
that the modern world we live in now, you have to remember, 150 years ago, this world didn't exist. You know.
Yeah.
150 years ago, before cars, before planes, before modern telecommunication, a lot of what we take for granted as the world is 3 generations ago.
3 generations ago.
We back on a donkey cart.
Yeah.
You know, so plenty happened between World War One, where they were still fighting on horseback.
Right.
World War One, they were still
Yes.
fighting on horseback. In fact, even World War Two, when the Germans were fighting with tanks, the French were still on horseback.
Right.
And this queen, she had the ability to read the room.
Right.
She had an intuition about her that allowed her to manage, because remember we went from World War II to Vietnam to the Cold War. You know, the world had some struggles. We had apartheid in South Africa that came to a serious head. Remember how it affected the Commonwealth and cricket and all of that. She had the ability to read the room. Reagan and her relationship with Reagan. And she was instrumental
Yeah.
in helping bring down the Soviet Union. People have tolerated prime ministers in England that they didn't like only because they still had that titular head,
Yeah, the Queen.
that face.
She was holding it together. I think that's the only reason why the Boris Johnson situation didn't turn out as bad
No,
as
it was
it
seamless.
because
Those things are seamless. England could operate without a prime minister because they knew that the Queen was there. King Charles, Prince Charles, now King Charles, because you know, I was telling somebody today, the statement that you make a Queen is dead is half a statement. Because the continuity is contained in that sentence. You have to say the Queen is dead, long live the King.
yeah.
Immediate, the transition of power is immediate.
Yeah.
Right, but wasn't it there was some controversy in the fact that if she died, it really was supposed before Prince Charles, now King Charles, was supposed to be her husband.
They wanted to go to William. No, Prince Philip?
Yeah.
No, he never was in the line.
Right.
He was never in the line. He was her
It was always Charles.
consort, regent, her partner. But he wasn't royal in line.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think it was always Charles, right?
Well, for a while there,
Uh-huh.
It had some
after
challenges.
Diana died,
Yeah.
plenty people wanted it to skip Charles.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when, I
He
remember
is
that
not a loved
conversation.
man, you know. He's barely liked.
Yeah.
His reputation, and I'm saying that to say that at a time where the monarchy is not held in high esteem, none of them are. The only person, I mean, Fergie was entertaining. Remember Sarah Ferguson? She was entertaining for a while, Duchess of York. But the Queen herself, this is what I was trying to make a point just now. There was the monarchy and there was this Queen, and she was an institution and an icon in and of herself. Now that she is gone, all that you have to watch, look, William and Harry allow them to talk, two of them leave and go and live in America because he didn't want to be part of it anymore.
And even with that, she was still holding it together.
He
Yeah.
cannot.
I don't think he could do that.
King Charles, Prince Charles, doesn't have the personality
And-
to control the room.
Just on a simpler note, right? Let's just bringing it back home. It happens in families, in a
Yeah.
normal family structure. When the mother gone,
Correct.
the whole family just fall
Correct.
apart. The children they start fighting for the house.
In the funeral,
They just fight for- yeah.
Anyway,
In the wake. Well, boy, do you
People
know-
saying rosary and
we
people
go to the
fighting
house,
in the
we gonna
bedroom
sell the house,
inside.
this, that, the other. We have a guest in studio. Well, he's the earliest guest. We have other guests that will be
where's the
passing through.
waitress today? I find this waitress not working.
We'll get a rum for you, don't fright me. We'll get a rum for you. You drink it straight though. Matterson, you'll get a rum just now.
You get
Philip
rum
says
and-
I have mine. Mine
Get
have Philip
rum
has
and
drinking the
chaser in
bottle already.
one bottle.
So I tell you what, we will.
You know what was going on for the last 2 weeks? We didn't have Satish. We just had David Welch, and we had monitors, and we had two or
Everything.
three
Satish come back
interns.
and we get less.
Place fall apart.
How come Satish come back and we get less?
Because Satish is the problem.
Okay, you see that? Let me stay out of that. So we have Mr.
Before they pull the plug.
We have Mr. Ramkumar Narayan Singh, who is an industrial relations specialist. For those of you who watch Breaking On, you would know that he has been on my program on several occasions, dealing with matters of industrial relations. I thought, well, when I booked you last week, I did not know that Tutor was going to have a day of rest and reflect, and that it would cause this whole conversation. Some parents supported, some parents didn't. So it's like half 6 hour, half a dozen or the other. Half the country was for it, half the country was against it. Tutor laid out their stance on their position and why they're doing it. So we'll get into that conversation because that started the week because school was back out this week, and a lot of children were eager to get back out to school, and then Tutor made the announcement on over the weekend.
What
Rest and reflect.
You touching that because I want to know. I still don't know. Was it just because of negotiations?
Well, Ramkumar and Stephen. Well, understand, Ramkumar Narayan Singh and Stephen Matterson have met already. You're
You're in the same industry.
Same thing. All right, nice. So this should get very interesting.
You're chucking fire.
Well, I don't know. You go play the queen and hold the house together.
As long as I know how to play the duke.
You see what's going on with the theater house? That is a different thing. Houses seem to be crumbling.
What's the days that are good to the world? You have seen Duke video?
But
Farley put out a release saying the position of deputy secretary to the THA is to be reevaluated. Things could fall apart quick.
It all happening.
No, that's another video. Duke put out a video this morning. How they make him and some people sleep in a basement with rats and all kind of thing, and they had no food. Satish asked why he didn't organize some bread for them. But that's another conversation. He said the people have no money, they need $20 to travel, it's embarrassing him, and the people who are in charge of the THA not doing a good job.
Right. That was on the news today.
Yeah.
But you see, and I tell you all, he overplayed that hand. People overestimated the relationship with all of them. All of them. You see, political expediency is why the Congress of the People and the People's Partnership and the National Alliance of Reconstruction all fell apart. The Congress of the People fell apart inside. before it fell apart in the People's Partnership.
Right.
Ganga Singh and Gillian Lucky and Anil Roberts and Timothy Hamilton-Smith and all them pull out and make their own deals with the UNC, or Gillian went to become a judge, and that was it. Congress and people fall apart by itself.
Right.
Political expediency, brother, doesn't work.
Well, the thing is, this Trinidad and Tobago, I wouldn't want to be fast and loose to say that there's, you know, kankata or confusion in the campus yet. The thing is,
You want to see
no,
Farley release?
the thing is, no, the thing is,
Chief's answer.
things that happen.
Deputy Chief Secretary position to be re-evaluated.
Right.
It's not vague.
It happens in all the parties, in PNM, it happens at the PNM, you know, all of them, UNC, all of them. So
No, but you need a strong central.
let me look at.
You need a strong central structure. The UNC have a strong central structure. We like it or hate it. That's the truth. The PNM have a strong central structure. We've aspired to build a political movement where people could come on board and fit into that strong central structure. That's what holds it together. When you have politics of expediency, you see a man standing by the side of the road, you pull over and you say, hey, what are you doing? You in a party? Come and join me party. Those kind of politics, songs good on a stage. Those kind of politics, songs good on a podium. But when the glitter fades, boss man, I'm telling you,
I hear you, but I.
because you've sat in enough rooms. You've sat in enough rooms where political expediency is sold to you
Yes.
as a rapid fire solution. Mr. Man, you're involved in politics at all?
Not
Are
at
you
this time.
informed?
Not at this time.
No, but are you informed to have an opinion? That's it.
But of course, but I mean,
inside
you should know about what's in
you
you.
wait for nobody to ask your question. You know?
No, I know,
You're in
I
a
know.
rum shop.
I
So
realize that.
You make yourself at home.
Well, let me say this, huh? When you look at the election that ran with that THA, make no mistake about it. The vehicle that took that election to where it ended up was Watson Duke. He was a contentious character, but as you say it, political expediency. What happens is this: that vehicle serves its purpose. Now everybody know who Farley Augustine is, and he has established himself well. When you look at I've followed this keenly, because in my mind, this is an indication as to what may happen in the general election in Tobago. I don't know about Trinidad. I know for sure about Tobago, and that personality has a role, but it starts and ends somewhere, you know. And as you point out, when the glitter fades,
It does it.
and you get into
Listen. When the arguments start about who was supposed to send money, when you make a decision to say you're going with them to America, and all they're going online, past change, and somebody said the budget can't afford it, all of a sudden, the terms and conditions and who wields the power get tested. People telling Farley, you are the man with the power. Duke telling himself, without me, they have no Farley.
That's right.
Lest we forget
That
Duke
is
swam.
correct.
He swam for Tobago. But
So,
go ahead.
Obviously, Farley will want to separate himself from that kind of ideology, because at the end of the day, he running Tobago.
He has electoral
He's
power
the
now.
man running
He has,
Tobago. He's the man with the power.
he has electoral power.
Exactly.
This is not bequeathed to him.
Where
by
has
you.
Duke been since they won the election?
In Trinidad.
In Trinidad! Campaigning all over Trinidad.
I told you that. I told you in the back room there. I told you that this play.
But the alliance, the Farley and Duke alliance
storeroom.
is still much needed. If Duke is to make any kind of real
Satish.
roads in Trinidad and Tobago, in Trinidad, that is,
Take this phone.
I think that alliance still have to be cemented or keep in a certain kind of way.
What?
For people to see that, listen, what is in Tobago is also in Trinidad.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Farley could make.
He
I
make
don't
a
think
good point. He make a good point. If they have cracks now, and you know the PNM
They
has
will
been,
dig into that.
but the
They're
PNM
known for
probably create these cracks.
Yeah.
You know that the PNM was looking for every space they could have find to sow a little couture. Boy, what you doing with this Duke fella?
To dismantle the whole thing. Yeah.
Duke helping all you. You is the man. They love you. Everybody, Farley. They will pay people to come in and meet him.
See, Duke is a man that be fast and loose sometimes. I mean, anytime you see...
Sometimes.
you
When
can
is he
control.
not?
But this, you see what you just said there? And I don't know, I think everybody here may have been exposed enough to know this much. But the public is aware of this. This is, it's something that we know, but people don't really talk about. A political strategy that has always been implemented and utilized has always been to put a whisperer in the camp.
Oh yeah.
To whisper, not to cry as a herald, but to whisper. Hey, you see what going on there? And that happens. That is a that's a whole fight.
Matterson, you should be leader, boy. What you telling me?
Yeah.
You see, appeal to ego.
Yeah.
And it's throw everybody, it's throw the whole equilibrium off, because when we all cohesive and we together and we have a plan, but they say we use co-pilot, you could fly better. All of a sudden.
But let me tell you what I think that whisper might be. It wouldn't be that, you know, you go be this. Farley, you building a name, boy. And you see that behavior that go tear it down. That is a whisper. That is what
they have completely different personas.
Yes.
Farley and Duke. But let's be honest. Farley wasn't seeing power without Duke.
Well, Matterson, you just said
Farley wasn't knitting that party together. All them people who is the PDP, all of them was magnet to the steel that is Watson Duke. Yes or no?
So you think you think Farley needed Duke more than Duke needed Farley? Because to me, Tobagonians love Farley.
Your point is a proper point.
That's a very good
point. And that is no. You see, when it becomes technical, but when it becomes technical, is Duke hid for that whole election, you know.
Well,
yes, Farley was the front man. Farley was the man out front.
Duke knew that he could build the party, but he could also cost them the election.
Exactly.
So he had to put a man in a position that he could control. He couldn't be king. He had to be kingmaker.
Okay, so who really running the THA? If you put it across like that.
And what he is alluding Farley running the THA, but the whispers behind the throne. But without that cohesion, they need each other.
Yeah, but the thing is, now Farley is running the THA. His advisors, whether it be the James brothers or whoever, clearly the inexperience, they start off shaky, and the inexperience have shown, especially where industrial relations and HR is concerned. They do a lot of things that didn't really look too good, but they have started this, and what Farley would have said would have given a sense of direction to the people. I'm talking about the rational thinking people outside of Tobago as to where Farley is going and how he's thinking, because you had to be really, really strong to say what Farley said. That he had to evaluate the
and this is what I would like to...
He didn't do that on whim.
No, but this is what I would like to add. This didn't happen today. That fallout happened to where emotions could have been cemented so that you could say what you say on that video and Farley could respond one time.
One time, yeah.
This is not... Because Farley would have asked, what Duke talking? What do the man? Let me organize some money, the man. Hey, Duke, is traveling money you're looking for? I go send it. This is not about that.
Yeah.
This
was something brewing.
At the end of the day, right, it's 27 Tobagonians, right? It's 27 Tobagonians. So, I mean, at the end of the day, in the context of the financing, right, to make them comfortable while they're over there in New York for the Labor Day celebrations. I mean, we ain't talking about millions and millions of dollars. We're talking chump change. So definitely the money is...
He said he ran out of money.
Yeah, so this is not nothing to do with the money. The money is not the issue. So if the money is not the issue...
This is being used. Those people, that situation, being used. Something broke their relationship.
Before that, yeah.
Something broke their relationship. And if
Both of them had to try to break.
Was it- was it-
No,
Yeah,
because
because-
you have a lot to lose.
What was it? Was it girl named
Farley too?
Ayana? Was it girl named
Farley
Both
Ayana?
of them have
Morris?
plenty to lose, and somebody go gain.
What's her name? Ayana
You know who
Morris.
in again?
Ayana, who's that?
The number 2 girl. It was Duke's number 2. Boris or something.
Yeah.
What's her name?
I don't know.
They had to have some kind of structure in our party. They have to be people to put the two of them in a room and say, listen, they have no winners in this. All they're going to lose. And the 5 minutes of fame that you've had, they will forget you faster than they forget Kelvin Ramnath.
Who's he?
Kelvin Rahman.
They will forget you. They will forget you.
I will forget.
Yeah, let me forget you.
Look, a big name is Rafik Shah. Rafik Shah has had to remind you he was in the parliament.
Yeah.
Rafik, every chance Rafik get, he reminding you he was in the parliament.
So true. Well, I mean, like I think what Matterson was saying is that let me wait and see. Let me see if how strong the relationship is or weak between Duke and Farley, because
Yeah,
I think anything that if it had a crumble or it had to stay together, it will be on the two of them strength.
I have been told
It's those two
that
these those
Watson
two.
Duke has made a lot of changes over the last 2 years or so.
Changes where?
In terms of his personality, I think he's listening, he's a lot more rational.
He's more laid back
Yeah.
and exposed.
Well, I don't know exposed, but he's listening. And he's listening to the people who are advising him. I've been told.
Is he quiet in the face of challenges to his own performance? Would he stand practically naked in the full view and still be strong?
Phillip, you know, I would not want to be one on a public program like this. If I were you, to really cast any aspersion or
Brother.
No, we're not casting aspersion.
Not at all. But what he did this morning.
To even suggest anything. The reason is, I mean, I've seen, you know, I listened to Bilba, former US AG, 2 nights ago, saying that what Trump did was nothing short of crazy. And I couldn't believe he was saying that.
Which one of the things?
They haven't taken the top secret documents and have it at his place in Mahalo.
Were they copies of documents or they were the actual
Well,
documents?
we don't know whether it's copies or not. It
But,
was the
but
documents.
okay, but if you know what, I don't even want to argue for or against Trump.
But
Go back
what
where you were. Make
what
a
I'm
point.
saying is, you know, and I couldn't believe that Bilba was saying that because he was one of Trump's most
Strongest
ardent
defenders, yeah.
defenders. Anything. He was the one who say like, I mean, Trump could do anything and you shouldn't prosecute. And even within the statement he made, he was actually saying that maybe the AG, they should not prosecute him, but he should be held to
Do you know
account.
why they will never prosecute Donald Trump?
Tell me why.
They will set a precedent that other presidents could be prosecuted.
We know that.
And both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have too much cocoa to want to risk that.
Yeah.
So let me not go too far down that road.
Which presidents? Unless you're talking about Nixon.
But they couldn't convict Nixon. You know what moved Nixon? The party. The party said, boy, for the greater good, step away. Step away. The problem with Trump, Republican Party don't control Trump. Trump controls the Republican Party. Last election,
That's the problem.
that
That's
election, everybody went against him. Where them now?
Right. What I'm saying is, and that is why the Republican Party have to stand for him now, because I mean he could destroy them. He could go on when the primaries coming up. He could do anything to any one of them. But it doesn't say to me that it is an ethical thing. What they are doing is ethical. Because Trump, that was a clear violation. What Trump did.
You've just used the word ethics
And
in
politics.
American politics.
Yeah.
And if that's not an oxymoron, I don't know what
There
is.
ever was one.
I don't know what is. Who inside of there could cast a stone? Who? All of them who talking. When you watch them talk, they couch their words very carefully, you know. Because they know.
They know. Everybody has something on somebody.
You don't
Is it
get
nasty?
there.
Look, Patterson, you know. It's not just in America. Politics on the whole in the
Bring it
Western
back
world.
here.
In the Western
Bring
world.
it back to Trinidad.
Is the most, is the
You
nastiest
don't
game.
get. You don't get. Look, let's use fellas like F.W. de Klerk, South Africa.
South Africa.
Let's use Mikhail Gorbachev,
Russia.
Soviet
Soviet
Union. Boris Yeltsin, Soviet Union.
Soviet Union.
You couldn't get to those positions in those countries unless you were the worst, the best of the worst. For you to come and change it after the fact and become Man of the Year and Time Magazine and we love you and you break apartheid and you break the Soviet Union, fine.
So
But at
Obama was
first-
oxymoron then.
Who?
Obama. Tell me.
I am waiting for the historians to tell me what was Obama's great accomplishment
Achievement.
other than being a black man in president. Now, he's done a good job at that. I want to say that. Is he's made it, like let's be honest, when you're dealing with an American media, they can be savage. Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson and Bill Cosby brought black culture.
They show Bill
in-
Cosby in that.
No.
Well, I mean, we know
this,
what-
as-
all right.
to quote Dave Chappelle, when
Bill
it was
Cosby went
okay to
downhill.
like him, because people used to love Bill Cosby.
Yeah,
remember?
Bill Cosby was
Cosby was
your,
America's
your TV
father.
daddy.
That's right.
You understand?
They didn't call him America's black father, you know. They call him America's father.
Father, yeah.
Bill Cosby was that. Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
These people did, and they knew that they had a role and a responsibility. So for that, Obama fits into that niche where you still, because equal rights,
Because look, look-
equal rights might be law,
In the,
but it is not practiced.
in the whole debate, like I understand what he's saying, like
Remember when Tiger
dealing,
Woods win?
dealing with the media. Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
the first time Tiger Woods win? The man he beat, he said, well, now they will serve chitlins and grits.
Yeah. I mean, the media does play a serious role. So for Obama to serve the 2 terms he served the way that he served it, he do a hell of a job dealing with the media, because the media could make you
Savage.
or break you.
Savage.
But we know the media just toe their own lines too, and they have the political bias. You mentioned Michael Jordan, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That is a big conversation. Nobody don't call Kareem Abdul-Jabbar name when they're talking about the greatest of all time, but he scored the most points ever. LeBron might pass him up. But at the end of the day, the reason why they don't call his name is back in his day, he used to shun the media. He wasn't liked by the media.
But not only that, he wasn't alive in a time where,
Social media.
besides
and-
social media, what Michael Jordan did. You see, Michael Jackson is not the first person to dance, and all the crazy he became in the end, with the bleached skin and the nose and all that crap. Remember Thriller? Remember Billie Jean? All he was some Jerry girl and a white glove and some socks, but he was still a black man.
Yeah.
But the Thriller album sold more copies than any album ever. Eddie Van Halen, who was the acknowledged best rock guitarist in the world at the time, played electric guitar on Thriller. Michael Jackson didn't need to bleach his skin to become O.J. Simpson. There's a
example,
thing,
yeah.
there's, you
Just
see,
as you Rosie felt the same way.
but you can have a whole show about, and this is why maybe Michael Jordan has kept himself. You can have a whole show about black icons. Look at Will Smith.
Yeah.
Look at Will Smith.
Well, Will Smith is a perfect
like somebody
example of
wind
how a
him
woman
up
can
and
bring it
mash
down.
up
Yeah,
his
but
career.
I don't want the women on the life to hate me for saying that, but it's the truth.
There is no, what you say?
I don't want the women on the life to hate me, but it's the truth. Will Smith is a perfect example
stick a
of how a
time.
woman could bring down a successful man.
Stick up in me. We'll come back to Johnny Depp and Will Smith.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Who didn't love Will Smith? Who didn't want to hang out with Will Smith?
That's the blockbuster king. That's the man. Jada Pinkett Smith married Jada Pinkett. Marry a lottery ticket. Marrying Will Smith was like marrying like winning the
Saying
lotto.
she's not a brilliant actress and they're not a power couple.
Exactly. What does Jada Pinkett claim to fame?
She
Otherwise than Marion Will Smith. She would have only that role that she get in Matrix. She would have, Will Smith was he pulled 2-3 strings.
Rough boy.
What you mean? Because he was the original man they wanted to cast as Neo. It was Will Smith and he turned it down because he didn't understand the concept. He thought about shit now. So he turned it on and he said, boy, biggest mistake he ever make in his life was turning on the rolling matrix. You feel he didn't play a role in getting Jada Pinkett playing in she marry a lottery ticket. She win the lotto. She win the lotto. Easy money maker.
Today conversation, I feel like I'm in a rum shop more than any conversation in the last 12 episodes of this show. And we would like to thank all the rum suppliers that are still.
Yeah. No, you know, Richard Liquor seller give me a liter of vodka.
Where is it?
At home. It didn't crack on it yet. I ain't opened it yet. You know what happened? Let me not talk too much about that. Let me talk about... Let me call...
Who it is that?
Who we calling?
The mass man.
Louis Hart.
No, he have a show. I was thinking Louis Hart, we had invited Louis Hart to come on the show, but I forget that he's be on the radio at this time.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
well, let's get into let me segue into the tutor topic and the union issues before Ram Kumar run out of time, because I know you have what is you doing? You're still studying and looking to pass, get bachelor's and all kind of thing.
I'm doing my MBA.
Yeah, MBA.
So
all right.
I have an assignment due today.
All right, cool. So before we run out of time, let me just touch on the tutor issue, because tutor took a stance, the teachers take a stance. Some people criticize them. They say for the last 2 years of the pandemic, teachers was home collecting the salary, the full pay. What they complaining about? This was supposedly based around the 4% salary negotiations. Yeah. They took a day rest and reflect.
Who said that?
What?
Who is saying that?
People. It had people who would.
And I want to.
Not people with children or who understand how teachers are, the terms and conditions of teachers.
Well, what are the terms and conditions?
Teachers, even when children are on home on holidays, they aren't actually on holidays, right? Mm-hmm. So, I stand with the teachers. The fact that the union had to do what they had to do, right? First thing, the union have to do what the union have to do. And not all the time I agree with the stand of some unions, but I could understand the position of teachers, because teachers do a hell of a lot. Sometimes when long after children are gone home, teachers are working.
Can I just ask you a question? You see, the reason I ask you who are those people, I catch certain people trying to put into the narrative certain positions. I was telling you how to open it up. To put into the narrative certain things to change the conversation. That's what trolls do, Long before there was social media, there was media trolls, and their job was, let's not talk about the issues surrounding the children or the schools or the teachers. Let's talk about why the teachers didn't take a cut and pay.
Yeah. Why they get full salary through the whole pandemic and all of them.
So if you say that to the teachers, then you're going to say that to the public servants, and you're going to say that to the state, and you're going to say that to anybody whose principal employment was curtailed because of a lockdown.
Right.
A teacher doesn't stop being on call. The lockdown wasn't, okay, we will lock it down for 2 years starting. No. It wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't like that.
It was locked down now. We started back school. No, it locked down again. No, it going up. No, it come down. Remember all that nonsense? It was different.
Ad hoc. It was ad hoc for the period.
So nobody knew that you was going to be off for 6 months or a year or nothing. Look, Price Mart, remember, had to become a supermarket, remember?
The thing is, I'm glad we're talking about this, because this is something I wanted to say and put out in the national space for the longest while. I think in Trinidad and Tobago, our collective bargaining process, but our collective bargaining, the ideology behind it is bad. We have poor unions, and in most cases they are taking advantage of without even knowing it. One, and two, you have for government negotiation, you have poor negotiators on the government side, because one of the things, I'm a proponent for pay for performance, right?
Pay for performance.
I'm a proponent of that. As an HR person, I think that if you pay me properly for my performance, then we will not be talking about more money, every 3 years or whatever, because what will happen is, if I'm not performing, we have a serious problem with productivity in Trinidad and Tobago. Serious problem, and it's because we don't pay for performance. If we develop a pay for performance system, but in collective bargaining and all that kind of thing, what we will have is persons not being paid for
underperforming.
So what you're saying is
Yeah.
that we setting the pace and rewarding everybody to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
We're not rewarding performance. If mediocrity is getting paid, why should I perform?
That's
Well,
exactly it.
The first thing Masterson, you're making that point there, and the problem that we have is our system is based on a pay for time instead of pay for performance. That's the first thing. The second thing now, all right, let's you talk about the bargaining process. Much like the Queen, when you look at the concept and system of a trade union, what you have now is it's a figurehead representation. It's a representation of something that worked and brought us to a place in terms of industrial relations. Make no mistake about it. Nobody could challenge the value of what trade unions have done, because from the voting power of a woman all the way to maternity rights, work all the way to even sick leave, everything.
So you comparing Rienzi and Butler to these jokers we have now?
Right.
Not
So hold on.
Canadians, but even unions and
Global unions,
globally.
unions is Lech Walesa and the Solidarity Movement in
In the
Poland
US especially,
that breaks up Soviet
yeah.
Union. So unions have value. But in Trinidad, our unions first got politicized and then secondly got corrupt. Our union leaders take money from the government to cut workers' throats. Tell me a lie.
Right, so you said the correct thing there. Union leaders. So here's the problem. The entire system is being measured by the leadership that exists now. That's what's going on. Now, there's a generational gap that exists that no people really acknowledge. You see that fraternity that exists there? You see the people that came through the generation that came after that? You have people who did not get involved. And these people who are leading now are so disconnected from the generation that is now. And the environment that is now is not even funny. Now, when you look at Tutor's action, in the first instance, Tutor, I think the action of that day of rest and reflection is more symbolic rather than effective for the negotiation process. I think that was
It's a show of force.
It's a show of force, correct. You notice how they came out after Madison and emphasized the percentage of support that they got. Okay,
was a
now
show
that's
of
fine.
force.
Now here the problem. The public in Trinidad and Tobago, they are always focused on the action of the trade union fraternity in the public. And people seldom, even the members, they seldom question the process that is supposed to be taking place when in the process of a negotiation in accordance with the law. They don't even know. So
Why is that?
it's deliberate. And we understand, if I have to account to you, Mr. Alexander, for the process of negotiation and where it's at from the legal standpoint, here's what. Now, I will now catch myself in a position where I can't explain why I'm not taking the necessary legal action. That's what's going on.
But exactly.
However, if I could now make this into a puppy show, I could make this into a political, a public spectacle where the crowd, that crowd syndrome is provoked. You would find that people bring that, they are easily accepted.
We had the head of the steel, the metal,
The Scrap Iron
Scrap Iron
Association
and
a couple weeks ago.
He lamented the lack
Was that
of he lamented the lack of support for what they're doing. And then we went out and talk about how when you burn tires, you block the road, you piss the people off. And when you take a day of total policing, you will piss the people off. Or when you have a day to rest and reflect, you will piss the public off. But until you take such action, the media that is controlled by the state machinery doesn't allow the public to be aware. The word back pay in this country sounds like theft. VSEP is phrased to sound like, all of them thieving more national money. Because it's phrased to sound like that. When you realize Trinidadians are understanding that a lot of these people continue to show up for work underpaid. They continue to show up for work, but they're working on salary negotiations since 2013. And I asked him, why can't we just begin the process of linking increases to inflation? So then the state has a responsibility to control inflation. Right now, inflation will bother the state.
But why would unions not argue for that? You ever wonder that?
I know why.
All right. So
I believe I know
it is,
why.
right?
Because unions are not representing their
For
members.
the most part, they do to some extent. The thing is, there's a fundamental misunderstanding between the cost of living or negotiating for an amount that is relative to the cost of living
Right.
and the period for which you are negotiating. Because as you say, a lot of times, I do some negotiation for a particular company and they're still talking about 2009.
Wow.
That's madness.
Wow.
Now,
When the price of bread was $6.
right. So,
It's
so
$2009.
what we'll be getting is technically back pay and all that.
Yeah.
If the company allows it. If the company negotiates and say, well, look, we will pay this for this period. But the thing is, there's I don't know if to say is there's a problem with the system. But really and truly, we really should be negotiating relevant period, the period we are in, right? And if we do that, that idea of pay for performance, if we use the cost of living as a base, and then we say, well, okay, you get the base pay, this is what your base pay is, and then
Set up Fabian.
depending on your performance or how you perform, you start earning more.
PAR system,
right?
Performance and rewards.
You know,
But
then,
you see,
then it will work.
But
to me,
state,
it will work better that
but
way.
state enterprises are not set up for that. They set up, ironically, you could thief money. You could thief money because that's off the books. But on the books, how do you account? Pulling a chair? On the books, how do you account? This is why I say, peg across the board, all increases. At the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal year, the cost of living pegged to inflation, and it went up by 3.4%, everybody got a 3.4% increase. Naturally, because the state has a
Yeah, but
responsibility.
you're talking about this, as the state.
Wait,
Yeah, that's correct.
For 40 or 50%. What about the other sectors, the informal sector, the other formal sectors, the manufacturers, whoever? The only thing you could do.
State instructs that.
Yes, no. The only thing you could do is to interfere with the minimum wage.
No.
You are no control over that unless it becomes a competitive thing, like say in the US, where you remember after COVID, what was happening in the US? There were persons who just wasn't going back out to work.
Yeah.
Right? And they wasn't going back to work. Why they didn't want to go back out to work?
They call it a phenomenon. People
Right.
figured out how to survive without that minimum wage.
And they was getting more money from the state.
From the state.
Oh yes,
the
that was
stimulus
a
package.
yes,
yeah.
correct.
So persons were saying, listen, I only going back out if you pay me, if I get a good salary, if I getting something that makes sense.
Because you're making a good point. Nobody has a proper value of what you are exchanging labor for or skills for. You say performance. You say performance. You say performance. Who gauges? If you say performance, you will need a highest performer versus a lowest performer so that you could have a frame of reference. How would you gauge performance? I tell you all, move 12 blocks and you move 14, I give you extra money?
No.
You had it, yeah.
Performance in HR is gauged by a number of different elements or factors.
And it starts with what is your end goal for whatever the responsibility or the role is. So if the role is here to wipe this table, what is the end goal? To make sure these 4 tables get wiped? That's so you start with establish what your indicator is.
Yeah, key performance.
But we have a kind of...
And the thing is, it begins with that strategy. So if you're talking about, and this is what I'm saying, you know, a lot of times you hear government do strategic plan and that kind of thing. It's just for a few people in the organization. It sits on a shelf, it gets us.
Correct.
It is worth nothing to the employees. The thing is, in the real world, strategic, everything begins with a strategy, your strategic,
The strategy in Trinidad?
your strategic objectives.
But the strategy in Trinidad is to practice economic slavery. Tell me a lie.
So,
We practice economic slavery. I'll tell you why we practice economic slavery.
Long time.
HR in this country is about seeing how low you can get them to settle. That is it.
Is that true, the Reis thing? The Reis thing is a HR man, you know.
Well,
He's a HR man. He's a
I've been on both sides.
I'm not talking about consultants, you know.
You don't want CPO?
I'm talking about the HR. But the CPO is a perfect example. That is the perfect.
You're laughing.
But that's a perfect example.
He's right. The negotiation on one side is always
So why we don't hear?
But that's how a negotiation is go.
Why we don't hear anything?
everybody, the union come with
The highest point.
And you try to
negotiate.
So how long we gonna play that stupid game?
Exactly.
Why we not hearing
That's
was
that stupid game.
profit sharing? Why we not hearing was like parity? All right, let them go. Well, don't take so long.
What I'm saying,
They're not faster.
probably one of the idealist system is a system where you start at a point, right? Of course, you have a competitive market, so that in itself will drive in salaries. Because if you have persons saying we're not going to work for KFC because XYZ paying us more, you know, you will have a point where they will either raise the
I need you to agree with me that we practicing economic slavery.
yes, I mean, of course.
Are we encouraging the rich to get richer so the poor can get
Well,
jobs?
That's another conversation, sir. That's another conversation.
But I sound like it, you know.
But economic slavery, and we have to put it in the context of our reality, because what the two of you do changes lives. What the two of you do, make no mistake, makes the difference between if people could afford to eat or to send children to university. Good evening, Avenel Hector Joseph.
Yes,
She's one of the
Avenel is here.
strongest activists in this country, and it's a benefit that she jump in the conversation. Watch me. She listening, eh? So when they see, she get her piece. But I'm using the term economic slavery. I want to wind people up with that. Because when you have prices being predicated on, we are going to plan to give them the 7%, and we'll give them that 7%, force an inflation spike, and cancel it off. They're going to negate it. So you're going to end up
gas. Again.
back to square one.
But that's what is happening.
That is
This
economic slavery.
administration, right? This administration, since they came in for the last 7 years, they have a tendency, the Minister of Finance in every budget, to give you something in the right hand here and take it away in the left. And that's been his strategy. He's been handing in the right hand and taking away in the left, and you're back to square one. So you've gone absolutely nowhere. You're still in the starting blocks, you only leave the starting block here. Now that's a fact. That's a fact. And now we're talking about raising gas again in this budget. So my thing is, if they settle and take 4% now, right? And this is what I want to find out.
Who's amalgamated workers?
Well,
Who's that?
Amalgamated Workers Union.
Yeah, I was in that union. I was the chief labor relations officer for a while. But that union has been around for almost 100
Who
years.
do they represent?
Why they take 4%?
The Port of Spain Corporation workers, Royal Castle workers, East Side, Bermudas, a number.
So it's not state.
Well, some is state. East Side is the mall is state. Corporation workers is state.
They take, all right, but they take 4%.
But they take 4%.
Why? Why would they take 4%?
What is 4% on 2013 salaries?
Right.
Well,
What is that?
It's about $10 a day, give or take.
So they take $10
So
a
they
day.
accept. You can't even buy Ramson, peanut punch and a Chris. No, I'm not joking anymore.
But hold on.
Is there any other part of that
Listen.
agreement that
No, I want to say
benefits from?
this because I want to get Avenel input in this. If the state doesn't pay attention to what people get in exchange for their labor and balance, you see a lot of people get rich in this country on slave labor.
You see, that might be the state role.
You have a boss.
Again.
In all developed countries it is. So how come it's not here?
the state played a role already with the
Sets-
minimum wage
no.
in terms of, yes.
No,
you
we
see-
said it told. It's not just a minimum wage. And I want to finish. Just let me finish the point.
let me explain it.
Carry on.
So the state role,
Before you throw down your
the
table, I see
state
you throwing
role-
down thing
the
only.
state role in industrial relation is to ensure that you have the right kind of legislation, the legislative environment to encourage industrial peace, right? And of course, in that legislation, guide employers throughout, whether state or private employers, in terms of how workers are treated by way of the Minimum Wage Act, the Occupational Safety and Health Act, the Industrial Relations Act, and all the other acts that the RSBA, all the other acts that governs working relationship in the workplace.
But you've told me.
But just
You've told me they're toothless and they're failing.
well,
You told me we need to redo it.
yes, to some extent.
Avenel.
No, we have these things we say we are the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. So if I'm to take what I'm assuming he's learned in his field, right?
Yes.
So the government that I voted for these people, they don't have no responsibility beyond the bare minimum to make sure
That's the point.
that there's no rent assessment board of children right now. So I'm going to pay as a single mother, right? If I try to get money for my children from the state, from a delinquent father who owing $40-something thousand in maintenance, I have to prove that he either in jail, he dead, or I can't find him, or he's violent. The employers who I work with, who give me this minimum salary that the state has done their part with. Out of this minimum salary, in reality, I get $3,000 per month if I get 10. I have to pay $2,500. So the state has done its part. There's nothing else that caters to me. The state have a responsibility to look at certain percentage of our population is getting X amount of money, and in the reality, knowing that $3,000 ain't buying diddly squat, and that a great percent of our population, after they pay their rent, they don't have food. You're trying to tell me that I have voted for people and that is not their responsibility to see that I have a decent lifestyle, but the same people who will give their finances cutbacks and kickback will go be living in a wicked society. And if that is the case, then we need to take to the streets, because what we elect them there for then? But then we go back to serfs and we're calling people on them. Because and in that case, the government do what it's supposed to do. Like we just take bamboo.
Yeah, and
But they're doing what they're supposed to do based on what you say. So you see that mother who's suffering salt.
you're correct.
We
But
do the best we could for them. Don't ball if you're trying hungry. Hold out till month then. Eat today. That's what
Because-
in this country. Eat
because-
today, skip tomorrow, eat the day after.
Because
Yeah.
look at something that's just
Yeah,
along
yeah.
the lines of what she's saying, right? In terms of the tutor and the teachers, right? And all public servants with this whole 4% in front of them. We just went through our August, September holiday, right? Where parents have said publicly, this is reported in the media, that they couldn't buy all the books because of the price of the books. Books have gone up to the point where they cannot afford to buy everything on the book list, so they buy what they could afford.
You don't even want to go to that
So-
whole
so-
school book mafia that
Right.
sit down with the 2-3 lines that
Right.
change to get a new edition.
To get a new
because
edition.
it's silent on.
Now the thing is,
Lord Jesus.
here you have the parent who is working. Some of them are public servants. Some of them waiting on the negotiations to see if they'll get an increase in their salary. And they're telling you straight out, based on the salary that we earn today, we cannot afford to buy the books for our children.
And I would like to say,
So if they can't afford it, the teachers can't afford it
and let
either.
me explain to people who are going to see that Bella is on the line. She's here.
Bella
and
has
she
joined
wants to
us.
be
Part of the rum shop talk. But Matterson was saying something, and in all honesty, I want to say, I know he's coming from a position of first, he's always trying to explain the reality as it exists. So he's explaining the reality and the laws that govern the conversations that they want to have
Yeah.
with you, the worker. The position you come from is a different position. But the perspective you come from is the reality, and Stephan, is what I want you to understand. That looking at things on paper and how it ought to be is good. But the reality people dealing with is why we have so much crime, poverty, homelessness, suicide, drug addiction, so many people leaving the country. If you gave police officers, teachers and nurses a clear exit, you lose all, because what they are paid outside of Trinidad and Tobago, you're going to look for David? What they paid outside of Trinidad and Tobago, what they paid and the kind of life that they get for the money that they get. Because you also have to look at this, and I want to say this to both of you all. When we negotiate for the money, and you give me a pay packet at the end of the month, when I go to the grocery with that money, what I get in for it again is a next lash. Because our money has no value at the cash register.
I think it's what we need to the public, communicate on the public, is these percentages sound cute. But like when teachers actually interpret what that percentage mean to them in a dollar value,
David,
but you insulted me before then. What is that to do? Buy 2 Caesar's pizza and some drink to be able
So they can't get that.
you for the month to dive my treats are negotiated. So I told my daughter flat, she said, Mommy, why do I want to take a job? I said, it's not about this, it's about justice. Because, I mean, that's an insult.
All right, well, let me just weigh in here. 2 things that you must consider in this, when we look at this. Because you can look at the $10, 4% of $200 or $160 or whatever, and it becomes $10. The truth is, it ties back into $10 multiplied by how much people and multiplied by the size of your workforce.
Yes.
Now, check this out, right? If I have 10 persons that is needed, and I can give them $10,000 a month, where their productivity levels delivers what we need in the way that we need it, the standard and etiquette of it, and they themselves in turn have a comfortable life. That is the type of system that you want to enjoy. I think Matheson,
no, not you gloss over this, and I want to ask you. She's asking a question.
Not at all.
You just said a little point there that I need to ask you to expand expand on this. When you say who gets involved in determining what is that good life? Who gets involved? You talking money, and the company talking, and I want to throw this on the table because we're talking teachers, right? I was at a protest this morning, Southeast Port of Spain, with the Parent Teachers Association, who closed the school. Because that school, and I did a live video there, what those children put up with there is insane.
Yeah.
That we doing that to children. I tell you what, and I told the Parent Teachers Association this morning, the #1 highest, most expensive private school in Trinidad and Tobago, St. Andrews, in Fairways, it's $8,900 a term.
All right.
We paid through the Ministry of Education $8,900 per child per term. That's what we're spending. That's about $5 billion. St. Andrews teachers are highly paid. They have 2 teachers per class. I think their ratio is 1 for 10. 1 teacher for 10. They're highly paid. They're successful. They're driving nice cars. You can't hire them away. They love their work. Our teachers are frustrated. We have economies of scale. We have 200,000 children. St. Andrews have 1,000.
Okay, let's
now. I want to use that. You see,
I want to use that to as an
but
example.
you have to have a frame of reference.
Okay.
You have to have a frame of reference. What Avanel is saying to you is that you said it just now. You said that you want to make sure that you get the best negotiation for the best package and that people can have a good life. How do you identify that good life? When we're talking about things where in a country, the banks put an unnecessary 13% tax on everything that exists in this country.
But the teacher in the school that you just called it, they had to pay that too, right?
Yes, but they are paid well.
Right. Why?
So they
Why
can
they are paid
afford
well? So Nancy was just making a point, and I'm not knocking teachers, and I'm not knocking workers. Just
public servants don't work as good as those
Oh, right. So
Bush, that's what you hear. I love what you say.
Here we are going.
Question. Good
Here
question.
we are going.
The teachers in the
Here we are
private
going.
deserve the money.
Here we are
go to
going.
the public.
No.
Rough circumstances with less resources. I won't say what you're saying.
So this is where we really need a reset in this country.
We do.
Right?
That we
You know what?
Just
Let me finish up, Anel. I want to use that same example you used there. Now, those people are well paid. Let's say they are well paid. What is usually the results of the children that goes to those schools?
High performance.
High performance.
The reason why we have slum because our poor people children
Let me finish. The high performance equates to productivity. That's what we were talking about now. The high performance equates to productivity. Now the thing is, because they are high performance, people with plenty money, we want to send the children there. So it's demand and supply. You know?
Okay.
So that's how it works. Everything works like that in society. Allow me to finish. Everything works like that in society. Now, when we talk about pay for performance, that's what we're talking about. If you are producing more, now that doesn't are not taken into consideration that teachers are not given the kind of facilities to be like the St. Andrews or whatever to produce that kind of results. But at the end of the day, productivity is what drives income.
So what we gonna do to drive productivity for somebody like me,
that's the question.
Partner in the hood, when you let poor people children go pass for the low-end school and then they go and then they will do low-end jobs and they will perpetuate a cycle of poverty and we will stay there. Because based on what you're saying, we driving that level of productivity for them to put that level of resources behind us. So we do then. So we just here to be a voter.
So when you have I just give one more example. Yeah. When you have a company, so I have a company and I hire workers. If you're not working, you're not producing what I want for me to get more money, I have no need for you.
That's right. Neither could you give an increase.
Neither could I give you an increase.
Because you are not performing.
In the context of public servants and the CPO.
That's when I talk about how they negotiate in the public service, it's bad. The negotiators, the people who negotiate for the CPO, they're mad. You had to negotiate for performance. But productivity is down. But you have a productivity problem.
But okay, Narayan Singh, you mentioned something to me a couple of weeks ago in terms of the negotiation table. That it doesn't just have to be about a 4% increase.
That's correct.
There are other incentives that could be laid out within that negotiation process where, while you might fall short on your increase in terms of a dollars and cents value, there are other incentives that could be offered to public servants that would be valuable.
So everybody bash amalgamated for taking the 4%, but everybody conveniently ignore the fact that the union has lobbied and has, as part of the agreement, a job evaluation exercise as part of the settlement. You saw that, Matthew? And they downplay that. Let me tell you how that ties into your Alvanel, right? Let me tell you how that ties into your scenario that you're describing there. First off, supply and demand in terms of jobs, that's where we have a big problem in this country. We have a real big problem with that. And when you look at the state resources going into paying staff, Mr. Alexander Highways, $1.2 billion of salary bill on average per month. That's the state salary bill per month. 1.2 on average.
Wait. I will never accept sweeping statements like that. I want to ask you, what percentage of that, how much of that 1.2 million does
billion.
How much of that 1.2 billion does management salaries account for?
Listen.
Yes, no.
That's an important
That is an important question.
We wouldn't know. Here's why. Here's what I'm saying.
All right, so when we having conversations, I want to tell you, because you'll come back on the show.
Fine.
20 workers, what did you say?
You'll come back on the show.
But 5 of them really getting 75,000. And the next
Exactly.
15 only
Right, so there's a disparity, but the point I'm making.
No, but you see, we've, and I'm not knocking what you're saying.
No, it's fine.
But what she is asking you for, and I am asking for the same thing, when you bring in information, give us all the information. When ArcelorMittal was able to fire the management, keep the same workers, and make what was Iscot that was losing,
the richest man in the whole world.
it was losing $1 million a day in Trinidad. He fired the management, kept the workers, and that steel company made him one of the richest men in the world. And he cornered the steel industry, he said.
You know, he's second vice president of the union, right? You know, I was a worker in ArcelorMittal. I was a senior process.
Right. So you understand the point. When you look, when you hear, every now and then, when we dig up in it, what just went on in Wassa, and we find out, when Petrotrin was closing down, and they talk, and we found out that in Petrotrin, they had so many redundant senior vice presidents drawing salaries at 10 and 12 times what the average worker getting. So people was thinking, when you say a wage bill is 1.2 billion, I want to know what the grunt who working the
Who making that
machine,
money?
what he getting paid. Because
And
that,
take out that percentage.
Yeah, what percentage
and
of the 1.2
separation.
going to the management?
And also, why it is hard to stomach.
No.
You see, all the like people like me, we just grassroots people, and I don't have all the first I fame. So you see all these statistics. I don't. But when I live in a country where you want to tell me, listen, I had to suck salt. I had to go a little bit harder, and you coming on me, and then I see you playing 7 million, so, and you do this here, and you're back. It's hard because you know what happened? I have to make. You are calling, you are squeezing everybody. Like if I was a man and you squeezing my balls over and over, and you trying to tell me smile, but I see and then will you actually sacrifice that you asking me to make?
you know,
I don't see you
But we
don't
don't make
get
it,
it,
and the state not
I'm
make
saying
it.
that if things
We're not
are
knocking you, eh?
I know,
We're not knocking you.
I'm not offended, but I want to
We're not
finish.
talking.
I want to finish that point.
Don't make sense to the
Well,
man in a real country.
In this
but in
conversation,
another country,
what she need you to do?
Let me
Take the
finish
streets.
so it makes sense.
Alright.
Listen to
Make
this.
your point, make
So
your
here what? Yes, 1 point, whatever the figure is, it's a huge sum of money that we pay every month. But here's the point: if you were to just take one KPI, Matterson, attendance to work, just use that as a KPI. When I forget about COVID now, just attendance to work, and just imagine if we said in the state, by virtue of falling under 80% attendance ratio, you will not have this salary or this job. Do you know how many jobs it will have available?
Those are different conversations. That's how
No,
man
the point
man-
here,
No,
listen,
all of that relates to productivity.
Hold on.
All of that relates to
What he's saying,
productivity.
okay.
you are
All of that
saying
relates
people
to
don't have
productivity.
jobs. You are saying that people don't have things.
No, hold on.
I'm
I
not
think
saying
what
people
he's
don't
saying,
have
this
jobs.
was part of the negotiation, right?
Yes.
Right, with the amalgamation workers
States
union.
have a
Yeah.
So they took the
responsibility to govern. That is their
Okay, well, hold on.
responsibility.
Yeah,
They're
but
not
hold
gonna me to get the salary.
on. What he doing is he explaining why they took the 4% and where in the negotiation
The opportunity,
the opportunity
now.
I'm
to
not
earn
against-
more
I am
is
not against them.
there.
I'm not against the 4%. I'm just
The-
saying that the man in the
I-
street, when you
I
give
was
us
in
the
a
percentage,
conversation.
put it in context.
I was in a conversation with the owner of a large beverage company in Trinidad, and he was talking to me about he entered into a side deal with his workers that they are union represented.
And they have a collective agreement.
They have a collective agreement.
And
No, this-
he went in a side deal with
listen,
the
listen,
workers.
Mr. Matterson, don't
If
take
you-
your live
if you-
Come down from here. Come down from here. No, I'll never happen.
It's not supposed to, but
It can't happen. Mr. Matterson has that. That's impossible.
If the side deal, if the side deal is everybody get a chicken and chips, chill out. The side deal he entered into them with this is that they,
So I can remember these things.
so that there is an annual estimated loss total that is preventable. And he told them that's so much millions. Reduce that and share. Okay.
That's what we say.
We all say
All
that.
that equates to
You know we all
productivity.
just said? We all just said unions redundant. Because unions not
Leave that
talking
alone, because I don't
that.
want to get shot
Well,
by the
they're not
union.
certainly they're not talking that.
So something like that,
Did I not start off my
No.
conversation saying that?
Unions not talking
it's
that.
not that they're redundant. They are not evolving fast enough.
Why you are not
to
talking
meet-
profit sharing? You know why? I'll tell you why you're not talking profit sharing.
Because you have to get something for it.
Well, besides that, the moment you start talking profit sharing, people are going to look into the numbers more. People are going to look into what is making up the totals.
Yeah.
People are going to look into what making up the totals, and they are going to realize that management salaries. Yes, Papa. Go ahead. You can go ahead. That management salaries here.
Keys for the car.
For the
One drive.
they will realize what percentage management salary. We have to keep asking
Yeah.
this, you know. Management
Phillip,
percent
you keep
salaries.
knocking on management.
Wait, I'm not.
Management
I'll come back
is
to this.
necessary. Management is
Management is
leadership in any organization.
absolutely
As you
necessary.
talk about
Man-
management,
leadership-
just a little point here.
Yes, no, leadership in
Is
any organization, leadership in any organization is paramount.
About 5 minutes to finish making this
If we
point.
even having that debate, then we don't need to be talking because
No, but
that's
let me finish the
point.
point because we've seen it. We've seen it. When they were closing Petrician and they talk about what the cleaner in the kitchen was getting, and I knew that they were being ridiculous, but they were trying to demonize the workers. But when we talk management in Trinidad, every government that has come to power has rewarded party hacks with big position in state companies.
Of course.
All of those,
And I don't mind the hacks qualified.
boss, let me tell you something. I don't mind if the hacks are delivering.
That's what she said. I should say qualified and functioning. Let me
He
put that.
said earlier, pay to performance, which is a beautiful ideal, but it is hard to do across the board. So what you want to do is to make sure that holistically, you are the Minister of Finance in a country. You understand what eats chunks out of people's pay packet. Yes or no? You know. You
Not
know the
necessarily.
impact school books.
Not
I
necessarily.
worked at Nestle briefly, and I tell people this all the time. When you work at companies like Nestle, international companies, they call you in and they sit you down and they ask you your life plan, your trajectory, where you want to go. Stephen, I want to make these points
Yeah, make your
because
point.
it is important to the workers outside there who think that this battle that we constantly fight in this country, this constant battle that we fight in this country, this battle that we constantly fight in the country is only about exchanging labor for money. But quality of life, what you're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to accomplish here, is not just about getting teachers a better pay packet. Because if they get a better pay packet, but the cost of living goes up, what did you do?
You didn't do anything. But let me just say something. You know, let me come on the other side now. Because I want to agree with it. You see, all of us saying the same thing in a different way, right? Let me just say this. One of our problems, why I say we need a reset in this country, one of our problems is that we operate in the dark, even in private organizations. Now, you mentioned Nestle just now. You can't compare apples with oranges. Because companies like Nestle's international companies, they operate with data, right? Our problem in Trinidad and Tobago is that we do operate with data. In most private mom and pop organizations, most government, we do operate with data. So, which is why we have the kind of problem we have right now. If we know exactly, in the first place, in any real organization, you can't operate by guess. You must know where you want to be. You must know how you intend to get there, your vision, your mission, your strategic objectives.
That if you have a commission of inquiry, you should have pen and paper.
Just know, right?
I want you to show up there tomorrow. No,
You must know.
We going tomorrow with stationery.
Right?
We going, come and help us.
What
We
time?
going
What time?
tomorrow. All are we going? Anybody watching this here?
Tomorrow morning?
If you would like to donate, they say they need a scanner. They say they want pad and pen. Bring it here to grab and go. But we buy and I buy. I just interrupt you.
We'll come back to that because I want to say a lot about that too. But what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, we're not living in a perfect society, but if we do some simple things, remember I talk a lot on this program about the amount of people we have in this country and the fact that there are countries, there are companies in the world with more people working there than we have citizens in this
their
country.
railway.
Yeah.
And they have
their railway.
they have what is called HRIS systems, where they know everything almost in real time about every single employee. Now the thing is, if we just you could buy those kind of packages online. If you just get a package like that, tailor it, put it in a blockchain technology, so for the person, the citizens who might have a problem with confidentiality and thing. You could run your country with data and statistics, and you could know every single person who's suffering,
Could I
who
ask you-
who can't buy school
Wait,
books.
that down.
But wait,
You know everything. You know how people working
people who
for
watch
every
this
show.
You even said think, and I have had to accept this, and I think that everybody who's out there struggling for better Trinidad and Tobago, we are not giving up the fight. We keep pressing, but we have to accept that those who have been charged with the authority to take us forward they either don't give a flying Jack Spaniel or they're clueless. Because when you look at the things that can effect
Yeah, just
change,
splendid.
the things that can give people a simple little more decency in life, that these people don't do. So you're going to have people in the St. James Infirmary suffering from cancer. In a COVID, everybody comes for the 7 o'clock appointment. You give everybody the 7 o'clock appointment. The nurse doesn't come in till 8 to start
Frustrate
taking
people.
in. There is no number system. So when you there, you probably just get a diagnosis.
She is right.
You're
That's
testing
right.
on
So-
the-
She's right.
Correct, you're correct.
not even a piece of paper.
Listen,
And
So
so
I
we're going back,
have-
we're going back, we're going back,
This brings me to a question
we're
I
going back
want
to
to ask
data. We're
So
going
I
back to
have to
data.
remember when I
but
read, I come after
this brings me to a question I want to
Not
ask you on
even
the
a
right
paper
thing.
for me to get a
You see all that
Okay,
Avenel
Phillip was
talking about here?
after me.
All the
And
failures in the
writing was
system?
after me. In 2022.
It is a complete disrespect for our people. From the top down, the tone and tenor of this society is built on
Disrespect
total
and
disrespect
disdain and
for people.
contempt. They don't
We
care about
contempt.
we.
Right, no.
We don't
I
like
cannot
our
take
we
it.
don't like our people.
But the
Why?
people don't like
Why?
themselves
But-
because they put up with it.
If
We
you
do
so-
know
so-
better. We do not know.
The thing is, we don't know how to want better.
If you beat a
The
dog,
thing is,
if you
the
beat
thing
a
is,
dog, if you beat a dog, stop arguing it here. The people of this country, Trinidad and Tobago, have not, and I've said it this morning again outside southeast part of Spain. The people who come in on the trail and saying they vote PNM, they like it so. Not everybody who living in our community vote PNM, but even if they did, what was their choices? Southeast part of Spain could vote for Kamala? Come on.
Yeah.
The people who have mismanaged this country, broke this country into two racial divides. Southeast part of Spain don't fall into Indian politics. Let me be real. You touch on this morning. It don't fall into what the Indian politics can cater for. So even if you wanted to vote for them, if you put God out your thoughts and Port of Spain South, vote a member of the UNCN, the havoc that will cause in our politics and who getting what and inside the party. Inside the party, I have heard you leave an Indian community out to serve black community, and the same thing happens in the PNM. This is a country where our politics has destroyed our family, our national family, because none of us on this table here recognizes each other's race until politics starts.
Yeah. But the thing I wanted to touch on, right, and I agree with you 100%. I think everybody here would agree with that statement. That is factual. But the thing I wanted to touch on, you talk about the conditions at the hospital, the lack of this, the lack of that. One of the things that teachers complain about a lot too, just to touch on that too, is that they have to buy paper. They have to buy stationery. They have to buy toilet paper for the toilets because they didn't have
So
any.
where's the
So they were
5
putting that
billion?
out. They were putting that out of the pocket. Now my thing is this.
Where's the 5 billion?
Even just now, I understand what you're saying, but I want to find out from Narayan Singh and Mattis, why, regardless of if they get an 8% increase, I've been real, why does the public service seem to perform worse than the private service, than the private sector? Why is the private sector, why does the private sector outperform the public sector?
That is a brilliant question, but not for
and-
tonight.
and-
You ought to stick up in. That's our whole show. And you ought to bring people here to represent people who work in the public sector. And they will tell you, because we
They
could say,
can't do that. It's not allowed.
no, but or former.
No, but we have two industrial
But I
men
can-
here. We have two men who can answer that.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can answer that.
Shall I give my suggestion?
Listen
They
to
can't
this.
answer for the working conditions the
Who
people
tell you that?
endure.
No.
Who tell you that? We was in
listen.
government too.
Our problem, it starts with culture. And let me explain what I mean by that. And if you look
If I
at
close my eyes, you sound like Colin Embert.
Go ahead.
let me
When he say,
as soon as I leave here, guys up my bank account. All right, culture. And let me tell you, this is going to be a hard pill for some people to swallow. But here's what it is, right? Here's what the problem is.
I would love to be this close. I would give almost
Listen to
anything
this.
to be this close to Mr. Ember.
Me too. But when you look
All
at
due respect, nothing disrespectful, but I would love that.
the same people that function in this country who break the traffic light, will leave this country and go in another country and never break the
That
charter.
And that is
But
simple.
hold on.
If there are rules, people conform.
Hold on, we have rules. We
They
have
are
rules.
not enforced.
Right,
And
so
where
here's what.
there's enforcement,
Wait,
people
I
conform.
want to
Here's
say
what.
this.
Like
I
my
want to say
ghetto
that
street sense
this,
tells me that.
that culture that you just
Compliance.
said is black,
Compliance
white,
and it-
red,
that
green,
is
and
human.
every shade in between.
Compliance and
It's
enforcement.
it's an ethical problem. Here's what.
No, you know why?
Don't
You know why?
have
I
You know
come
why?
to
You know
work,
why
right?
they wouldn't do it away? You know why? A Trinidadian.
Consequences.
This fella had. There was a show I was watching with
Enforcement.
this fella who's new. You might be a
Consequences. I ain't complying with my
redneck.
work.
What was his name?
You might be a redneck.
You might be a
God.
redneck. Yeah, he's a comedian.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
He said,
Howardson.
no.
No.
The fella with a big mustache.
Yeah,
You
yeah, I
might
know
be
you're
a
talking
redneck.
about.
He said, if you ever mow the lawn and find a car, you might be a redneck. Anyway, he was saying, he and his wife went to Lamar's class. And he said, the instructor said, first off, do not try to have sex with your wife after her water breaks. And he said, the only reason she had to say that is because people were trying it. And I use that joke to make this point. If every time you see a sign by an intersection that says no U-turn here, it's because people U-turn in there. And Trinidadians will try that anywhere in the world. Don't feel we don't go and try it, But when we get that fast ticket and the demerits,
That's what I'm
Consequences,
saying.
yeah.
Consequences.
The consequences.
Enforcement.
But-
consequences. Human beings. And so, I mean, from a
But this is
people
what
always
Matheson,
sin and
this is the
take
point he was
opportunity.
making,
But if there's consequences,
The point-
you will
the point-
think twice.
Matheson may
There's no
alluding to the point
There's
that you
no
need
enforcement.
structure and you need
so
systems.
you all have to come back to this whole conversation again, and we have to stick a pin in it because we have to go to the commission of inquiry and kick up some people.
Yeah, we
No,
have
no,
to,
she's
then we
a
could
family
segue into
law
that because you gotta wrap up. You gotta
Yeah,
go. All
I
right.
gotta go.
Well, Narayan Singh has to depart because he has his MBA that
I need
he's
to
doing and he
finish
has
that
a
assignment,
project.
alright.
So he was only here for an hour.
Interestingly,
so
it's on culture.
Huh?
Interestingly, it's on
So
culture.
you came to use us to warm up.
So we should
So
make sure you cite
You
us.
get a chance.
Make sure you cite us.
in the bottom with
Yeah,
the
we're
glass,
interested in
let's
coming back with
the
yeah. Why?
And then we'll just
we
spell
could
our
always
name.
invite you back on. So you're willing to come back at
No, but we're going to continue the show, and
anytime
we're
you
going
want.
to do a show next week, Thursday. God willing. You see, Bella just asked me why I'm writing on my hand. All of these things is things. Every week, he and I just say, next week we talk about this. You see this is happening, we talk about that. And the list getting longer and longer.
Because so much thing happening every day.
Yeah,
Like
a lot
one dog.
of-
That's not
You
the
both
plan.
guess, Monday and Tuesday, that by Thursday, when we film the show, the topic that you booked those guests for, that done gone.
That done gone.
People talking about 9 day, 1 day in Trinidad. We lucky if we hold a topic for 24
For
hours.
24
the
hours,
thing just
yeah.
rushing at you.
True.
The whole country, right now we distracted. Long live the king. Right now we distracted.
I am not distracted.
I'm telling you.
I am personally distracted because I still have to take care of my children and I was cleaning my house. I have all my job to do. People to feed.
Mr. Narayan,
Tons of children
Narayan,
still need back
Yeah.
to
It was
school
an absolute
supplies.
pleasure meeting you,
I
having
ain't
you
even
on
that
this show.
king queen wide.
Next week, Thursday, you'll talk to Stephan and line it up, link it up, right?
No problem.
We want to get some public servants besides Stephen Matheson, who used to work in government. We want to get some public servants. So if you would like to add your voice, and don't come on this show if you're meek and mild and timid or your feelings can get hurt.
Yeah.
This is not the place.
You don't know how to jump in and jump out here.
This is not the place for you.
Right? So we want to thank Narayan Singh for coming through. Narayan Singh, safe journey home.
Yeah, man.
And good luck with your MBA. I thought he and Matheson would have been hammer and tongue, you know. It
will come, it will come.
They
I know they're pushing that, they're
We
pushing
go
that.
get them to disagree on
We
something.
will bring...
But
I thought it was going to happen when he said he was part of the amalgamated.
oh gosh, yes, boy. Yes.
He was.
And then the evaluation for PAYCOM, you know.
And then he was in the town. I said, well,
The tension was brewing, but it didn't materialize. It didn't
Wake
bubble.
up.
he must be a politician, you know.
And I feel like going to be the day we are wrong.
If you want that,
The day we are wrong and go up.
That's called outside child. The man sung just like
Yeah.
Call Boy.
Hey,
He have that same...
So-
You have that same talk in your nose kind of tone that calls up.
Hey, don't raise gas again. That's it. All right. Side, Commission of Inquiry.
Listen.
No pen, no paper, no scanner, no internet.
I want a mountain of stationery to drop for them.
let me just say something with respect to that as we start talking about that. You know, this country has all the structures to deal with that issue with those guys in the pipeline without and people being brought to justice and charged and that kind of thing without going to a commission of inquiry. In my opinion, that commission of inquiry was to do two things.
That's right, true.
Was to slow this thing down and let it go after 5 years and to safeguard the persons who should have been held accountable.
This is a murder scene.
Because, yeah.
This is a murder
Because
scene,
let me
yeah.
tell you something. I don't know in this country if you know of any commission of inquiry that ever took place that happened, that ventilated itself within the period the government is in office and people get charged. Or people get...
But recommendations have been made.
Yeah, but not...
The director of public prosecutions have to answer.
We have an OSH authority,
Yeah.
right? Let me go right.
Could I
here.
just,
Yes,
could you just give me, could you give me leave for
Which is-
one thing to say? That you said just now that commissions of inquiry do not deliver. People allude to that and say it tongue in cheek. I'm saying to you, if you go back and you check every single inquiry that was ever done,
Scott Job
they
report.
end with recommendations.
That's
Our
recommendation.
the boss man,
Because that is their remit. That is their remit.
That is their remit. Their job is
We
to investigate.
have to-
After that, it's supposed to go to the parliament or to the DPP or to the commissioner of
maybe
police.
what
What happened in
we
those
need to
pipelines that you can
change.
bring a good OSH person from, or a couple of OSH people from Trinidad, or bringing international
that-
help to investigate and deal
That
with
was
within
1
a few
week.
weeks.
That was a week.
Within
That
a
was
few
1
weeks.
week.
What
The
happened
crime
to
scene.
Because you are assuming that they want to come to a
Osman,
conclusion.
the crime scene
And you are assuming that
was
they want
limited
people to be held
to 36 inches.
Yep.
Your crime scene was a 36-inch pipe.
So then, what was it? So when the AG say, well, we don't, you have to talk to the president.
The president put out a statement and said,
I live in a country where a
You know that,
Scot,
right?
where a
He
justice
put out a
Scot.
statement there.
Yeah, the president said that.
She replied.
The president said don't involve me in that. I have no job there.
Yeah,
But
but
I
what
want-
we need to do then
me-
But
is
I want
change.
to commend her for
We
actually
need to-
saying something.
Maybe we need to look at what other countries do. For like in England, what is the remit of, for example, what they call a coroner's
This happened in the US, all our people in jail.
They have something called a coroner's inquest. We need to then look and see, okay, what do developed countries do in situations like that?
We don't care about that in
And
Trinidad.
those particular things have more remit to actually issue summons
Mr.
or whatever.
Commissioner, we bring in the stationery for you.
We shouldn't be
I
looking...
know the PNM trying and sabotage this investigation. We bring in stationery. I want somebody to donate. Somebody donate a scanner.
No, but yeah, I know, but what I'm saying, then we need to
We should-
change, reconfigure that whole
man,
concept.
This is like this is a
We should
commission
have
of
to look outside to see how they deal with situations like this.
We have a
Paria is a company.
closed. It's a closed environment.
Yeah, but I'm
They
saying,
supposed to
if,
have
yeah.
Imagine you
No,
go
I'm
to
talking about from the
KFC.
systems in place
Yeah,
to
but
deal
I'm
with that.
talking-
Imagine,
no, I'm talking about
imagine you
the
go
commission
KFC
of
to buy a
inquiry,
chicken
though.
and chips. You ask for a breast and wing. They'll give you a leg and tie. And you commission of an inquiry into that. That is what they do.
Listen.
This is
That's what
overkill.
I'm saying.
This is
Listen,
overkill.
I will have a client who have a security officer who shot himself in his leg
Name Chinley?
in a government complex. Right? The government, under the reporting responsibility, the state-owned enterprise reported the matter. Right? And both the company, the security company, and the gentleman was put before the court for a breach of OSH violation. The man who shoot himself and the company he working for. You telling me how many people stuck in a pipeline? People died. And nobody, the OSH authority.
Bossman,
Nobody
if
get
Christopher
a- nobody-
Boudreaux didn't come out that pipeline, I tell you, and if I wasn't there covering every minute of those 2 days, you would have never know them fellas dead in that pipeline. You would have never know.
Let me-
They would
what
have
I'm
never
saying-
make news. TV6 put out a thing. The search is on. The first morning, they stuck in the pipeline yesterday at 2:30. The search is on and they show a picture of the wide open sea. I said, what are they doing? They're in a pipe. They're not searching for them in the sea. All they're even doing, it was Carnival weekend, all they're even making resources available
Tista Carnival.
to even try and do a media investigation. You looking for a state investigation? Law enforcement fall down on itself. They vomit on this case.
No, I just
Nothing.
want to be clear what I mean when I say to look. I'm not talking about it to investigate that particular thing. It's that we have a history of what we have called these commission of inquiries that we spend millions and millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars.
Right. So what I'm saying, At the end of the day, when we county commissioners, they themselves say that they've carried out their responsibility, which is to come to finance, and they hand it over to the relevant authority, and we know what happened. What I'm saying is, we need to be looking at the other countries as not to handle like the individual matter to rescue the guy. But I'm saying, how do they deal with things to bring people that are culpable? For example, if they do a coroner's inquest, what is the remit of the coroner? How far can the coroner go after he finds out John is responsible? Right? Because, for example, in England, you can have, as a doctor malpracticing in a hospital, you could end up in a coroner's inquest. Simple so. In Trinidad and Tobago, people die in the hospital all the time. Negligence, their family go on the news, they mourn, they groan, and then after, it goes on how many women. So, how are we going to then hold people as responsible?
Avanel Hector Joseph, you served 128,500 physical signatures on the parliament, and they never even acknowledge it.
No, I talk about it all the time. Both the opposition
the parliament never acknowledged that 128,500 citizens.
What's the percentage of that? What's the percentage of that?
It's 10% of the adult population.
Nobody came out for it. Nobody came out for it.
Nobody in government, in any sector of the government is held responsible, really held responsible for that. The police will shoot you down. There are laws that say you're not supposed to contest the police when they come to you or whatever, and you get shoot down. Right? And they pass laws for body cam say. But they're saying if ever you shoot somebody, you will be prosecuted if you didn't have on your body cam.
Yeah.
Like in the US. So there are no accountability, there are no responsibility.
We live in a country.
And let me tell you, that is an odd principle. Even if you go in the Bible says because judgments against a wicked work is not carried out expeditiously, man's heart is set to do evil. So
say that again.
Because when I used to get licks as a child, my father, before he hit me, he used to say, because judgment against a wicked work is not carried out expeditiously, man's heart is set to do evil. So if I'm living in a society where there is no consequences for my actions, whether I'm the manager, the police, the janitor, I don't know already. I am going to get away.
We have been on a road that has led us to a very dangerous position.
Tie it back to the Queen dying today. Tie it back to the
Would you let Lizzie rest in peace?
Tie it back to the fact that England works. Tie it back to the fact that if we wanted to, we could bring MI5 or MI6 or Scotland Yard to try and clean up the police,
Easy like that in the snap of a finger.
And the assumption is that the powers that be want to do it.
Listen, it's as
so
if,
that is why Mr. Matheson make a point in saying the assumption is that these people want to fix it. It works broken in their mind. Why
are the people of Trinidad and Tobago content to accept this kind of mediocrity that results in us having such a poor standard of living?
Because of division and bias, Philip. It's simple. It's not division.
So it's only race politics. At the end of the day, race politics is going to be the thing that kill us on this mountain.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why, son. Look at something. And I said it this morning, and I'll say it again. Think about this for 1 second. Just think about this, right? Everybody, just think about this. Everybody on live, everybody in studio here. Think about this. In February of this year, 4 men get swept into a pipe, 36 inches, right? A 36-inch pipe.
5 men.
5 men. They were in there for days. Good? One man came out.
Satish.
That man came out and said, hey, he turned to our next one of the rescue divers and said, look, your father right behind me, they go down for you. Correct? And nobody went. Picture the darkness, 36-inch pipe, lying there in darkness at the bottom of the sea, right? Expecting, knocking on our pipe, doing everything. Hold on. My point is this. You did everything. Those men did everything that they were supposed to do for help to come.
After that, what kind of leaders we have? What kind of humans we have?
Nobody went. Rescue was shut down. It was ordered that nobody go into that water. Why? We don't know. They sealed the flange. Why? We don't know. Because I talked to many experts during that period and they said it was never supposed to do that. From the time they see La Flange, that is murder. Alright? But putting that aside, think about that. One man came out and survived. The man is traumatized for life. The families of the men that were down there in that
And they're not even paying
died.
for his therapy.
Hold
But
on,
I'm not going to go there.
Hold on, we come into that. The families under pressure financially, mentally, every way that you could think about, right? And February, March, April, May, June,
This is angering.
July, August, we in
What
September.
are you vexing me for, boy?
Right?
This is
We in
angering.
September. And while we know that the Commission of Inquiry, I mean, any one of us here
It's a
who
stunt.
knows,
It's a
we know
stunt.
it's a stunt.
It's a stunt.
But even in
Everything that
even,
Patterson said he was correct.
Right.
This was meant
But
to
that's-
take the heat off of that case.
Right. So just think about it. Even in the stunting or the attempt to stunt, a Queen's Council on the opening day says to the entire nation that he has come to deal with this tragedy through this Commission of Inquiry. And he do have a pen, he do have paper, he do have scanners, he do have a printer, he do have internet. Internet, the man saying, no internet. We didn't have office furniture.
Where do we go from there?
We had to get it from the office of the Prime
Where do
Minister.
we go?
And sarcastically he said, I don't know if the Prime Minister and the people in Prime Minister office working on the ground now. Because they said that they got the furniture from the office of the Prime Minister.
Where do we go?
So my thing is this. Absorb all of that and ask yourself this question. That right? It right that 2 days before this inquiry started, the lone survivor had to apply to legal aid? Legal aid run by who?
Boss man,
Who does run legal aid?
I go leave, you know.
Who? Wait.
You're
Who does run
angry.
legal aid? Legal aid is run by the state? So he had to go and look for a lawyer. You telling me in the entire law association
But
and with
Ramona-
all the lawyers,
But Ramona Ramdial,
down to the bush lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago.
Ramona Ramdial say on my post, because I say, are you surprised that the government sabotaging this inquiry?
Right.
Ramona say not just the government, the opposition, all them lawyers who jump out and
Exactly.
get their 15 minutes of fame. But we talk, and I just asked you about the 128,500 signatures. I asked you about that for a reason. They put up a single working camera in the heights of a repo yet?
None.
Let's say ignore everything we asked for
No.
as the candlelight movement. Did you put up a camera or a police post? You're finding more bodies. Did you take search dogs and comb the area and map it and put it like we see on TV?
Yeah.
In big people country.
You're not supposed to watch TV
We
though.
just see
Because when
quadrants.
you watch TV,
Look at
you'll get
quadrant.
angry like,
We search this quadrant and we find nothing here, nothing there. Listen, man, this country
We
stinks
do not live in a
and
country-
rotten.
we do not-
Stephan Reis
We do not live in a
until
country that provides for that. We live in a country where the people that run it are trained to cheat citizens out of justice, accountability,
So what do you
transparency.
do
These
when
are
the
things.
rule of law has been turned on its head? Because that's what you are suggesting. That we believe these people are entitled to these positions, even though they are not doing the jobs that the position dictates they do. Understand me. The Attorney General cannot continue to be the Attorney General simply because he's appointed. There must also be, Stephen Matteson, there must also be a performance. He must do some job. Gordon Draper, draw a salary. And
but I brought up Mr. Draper and the public service reform thing. I would really like to see that document down at it and to really look to see what did we get, because I understand blessing first he learned how to every day. I hope he with Jesus. That they said that something came out of it. So that's kind of young, but I would like to see that document to see what was the what is the ROI that we got. You're supposed to speak well of the dead. So I'm hoping that somewhere, or in some case, like I'm not going to say anything about the Queen. You know, we might say we can't say nothing, don't say nothing, right? So I would like to see that document. What did we really get from that thing? And how, if we could do a chart before before that reform policy thing went there, and what was actually suggested, what was actually implemented, how have we grown as a public service since that time?
Are we a minority of stupid people who don't understand to just get drunk and wine? Are we are we actually...
We shoot for the low-hanging fruit,
No,
and
but
our
we, I'm talking
politicians
about-
realize
I'm
that.
talking about us. Are we as 4 people part of a small minority of blighted people who are too intelligent to understand that to be happy in Trinidad you need to be stupid and don't care?
I think for me, at times I have this conversation with my head, right? And so I can speak about myself as an NGO. I'm doing a job, my reputation is out there, and then if you speak, you get punished. So you know you ain't gonna get no grants. So then you say, okay, for the sake of the poor people that are helping, let me dress back. Because if I dress back, they realize, no, you can't do that because you have to live with your conscience, you have to live with yourself. And then you see everybody else cool with them. Not everybody else, but a sizable amount of our population. And they're good with how everything is. So that's why you say to yourself, you want to be just picky, you know, everybody else happy, and not everybody, but a lot of people happy. A lot of people see certain things and it's like...
Shouldn't it be that this is how the country meant to
Yeah,
be?
but people only
Should
happy
we-
until
Because
it
I
reaches
saw
a step.
somebody, I saw...
If you call any of us,
I saw some of the responses to the teachers and why they should be happy.
Well, they pretend
And
to
I'm
be.
like,
if
okay.
you get a call, and I tell people this sometimes, you know, I say I search for your name over the years. Because you know if somebody message you,
You
for
know it's
help,
after 6, right? See you? Afraid, you know.
somebody
Yeah, we finish in 6.
somebody message you
We
for
start
help,
late.
and for some reason you ain't get around it yet, and they buff you and bad talk you. Well, them saying them helping, but them helping because you didn't. And you know I say, it's plenty people getting help, and you're at the end of a line.
Yeah.
You gotta wait your turn. You can't just
I just-
show
I
up
just
because
get
the wolf
messages
reach
why-
your door. You want to jump
Sometimes
the
I don't
jump
even bother
the
to
queue.
respond because sometimes
I stand up outside a school this morning. The people telling me the school need to move. The Parent Teachers Association of Southeast Port of Spain had to fight for a bullet shield wall.
All these public- all these-
A
all these
bullet-
public- all these
Mr. Man,
public schools.
Let me just say this now.
Majority of them
that
need to
school
move
has
on.
a
They need
bullet shield wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
A bullet shield wall.
That's the primary school at the top of George Street too. George and Duke.
When you say that sentence, that a secondary school has a bullet shield wall, and you're not understanding the impact that psychologically has on the children that
They
go through.
do not care. And when those people who live in East Port of Spain come out of the misnomer that the PNM is a black people party, and the people in the UN, listen, we have to face it. I use Shagaramas as a prime example. Growing up, you said take the poor people, you said take the 10 cents bus. Go down to Shagaramas for the Patapela on a Sunday with their family. My cousins and my grandparents' cousins, they fought for the land in Shagaramas, but it was taken away. But the whole, whatever, with the, you know the whole thing. They went all the way to the Privy Council and they lost. To see, imagine your grandfather lost his land, it was taken away from them in a most unceremonial day, where you are living in Carnage where they reshuffle you too. And you can't even go down to Sharkville because Sharkville and all them beaches now properly blocked off by the rich people. So only rich people have to enjoy Trinidad
I
and Tobago.
cannot believe
You understand?
that
And
could happen.
people don't say nothing.
That wildflower park
People
could
just
happen.
quiet.
I cannot
The whole stretch of the
we
beach
are,
gone.
we are stupid. We are.
If I am poor on a minimum wage and I had to take my family to one of them parks and them, I had to save for months. That might sound foolish, but if I barely have food, I have to multiply.
Yeah.
I have 4 children.
Of course,
4
yeah,
by
a couple
150 or 4 by 200 is 800. I can't carry no food.
A couple grand.
That's,
Couple well.
but
Yeah.
you see, but we done settle
couple
in this country, and I don't want my children to settle. That we is not to get nothing. We is just to pass and see people live eating in restaurants and look and think and nothing for me there. We just have to scrape the bottom of the bag.
Tell me if there is any truth to the fact that our curriculum is not the same across the board, and that some schools have a different textbook and doing different education. All the Form 1s in the country, all the Form 2s not doing the same work. Explain that. Are we running a two-tiered education
Everything
system?
in this country is a two-tiered system. Almost everything. And
I'll
I
tell
was
you this.
waiting for the learned Minister of Health, if it is that he went into the public health care. Because they are so disingenuous. All the politicians and them are going to the public health care or wherever public servants, they just come and say, oh, they went in to get good service. Duh! Go to the head of the class. No mess, Sherlock. Use the Minister of Health. You going into a public hospital. You think they're going to make you slung on a bench for 24 hours? You're going to use that as the standard.
But you should.
No, but that.
But you should. If
No, but
that
you
is the standard,
won't.
you
You
should.
won't.
But
You won't. You will
You
not.
should.
But
you
you will not. So
If you
don't
take
come and
away-
tell
if
me that
take
you get
away-
good service and
Amanel,
feel bad, make me
don't
feel
you
bad.
agree? Don't you agree that they should take away blue lights from all of them?
Yes,
So
but
for
they're not
cabinet
going to.
meeting, when people reach late, and they say, but the meeting was supposed to start at 1:30. Brother, you see what's going on the avenue?
And this is what brings my point, and I have to make my exit just now. We want people, whether it is UNC politicians, whether it is PNM politicians, to change things that do not affect them. They are not going to the grocery with their minimum wage, picking up some items, and have to put back basics and decide, listen to me, we're going to go and eat, we eat no meat and meat. They don't. So we are trying to get them to deal with something that is not
We
in
have
their...
to believe who they are. They have shown us for 60 years.
Well, we see it, they
Trinidad
don't
and
care.
Tobago.
You don't understand, Colmember could come and sit down and say, look, we might have to raise the gas price again because motorists have been enjoying a subsidy for over 46 years.
And I will blame the Truckers Association and the taxi drivers when we brought all of them here. Remember that? And we brought all of them here and we told them, stand your ground. And you see, we have this concept, Avenel just said, if I hold my corner, the wolf ain't gonna bite me. That's like saying if I don't want to bite a lion don't want to eat me. They're going to dig out your eye, and if you don't complain, they will dig out your other eye. And that's what Trinidadians need to know and
You
need to
understand it?
learn.
Look at something. When he said, well, I raised gas once, I raised gas twice, they didn't riot yet. How much time he raised it since that? About 3 times?
It's
And
crazy.
He'll keep doing it because he said it. He said it to your face. Well, I raised it once, I raised it twice, they didn't riot
wanna tell you
yet.
something.
He laugh at you.
You see,
And
when,
then raise it again.
when we...
And you sit down and you take it.
You see the UNC.
And raise it again.
You see, because
And I remember, that's how I remember, because I want to find out something now before we run out of time, right? I remember because in his statement about raising gas again in the upcoming budget, he says that once the oil price stays at 100 and something US dollars a barrel, most likely we'll have to raise the price of gas. But I remember there was a time that when the oil price was 100 and something, or the oil price was high, it benefited the country. And in tune it benefited the motorists. Because it assisted in paying the subsidy.
Because we had
but
a
now the price
refinery.
high and it's a burden on the state. But it used to be a burden on the state when the price was
because
high.
we had a refinery.
We had a refinery, so you shut down a refinery. So we now had to pay for your incompetence.
So wait. You didn't know that there would have been a consequence?
Well, you know,
Apparently people didn't know.
you just mentioned the budget.
Yes.
You know why I'm looking forward to see?
Are you looking forward?
What I'm looking forward to see is how the
These
government
are some terms, eh?
how the government treats with agriculture. If agriculture is going to get the same 800,000, or they'll get $5 billion. Because if I'm in any progressive thinking society, you know, you must be able to feed your country to be totally independent. Feed yourself.
That's
So, yeah,
national
that's a
security.
billion.
And US
That's
said,
national
the
security.
US said that the only thing that they have against China is that China can't feed itself. Right? The US said that. And the thing is, if you really want total independence, be able to feed yourself. I'll tell you something.
You think they don't know that?
If Trinidad and Tobago I hear them talking about an amalgamation with the Caribbean countries and how they come together to, if we think about putting together a system, an agricultural system,
He said Matheson wearing a pep shirt.
where
I see that since I come home, since I come in, since I was like,
Where
since
we-
the first thing I see.
are
Black
able
in that boy.
to probably,
So we are.
the Prime Minister said we don't have enough lands to be able to, but you have, listen, I went to a place in Texas where there are greenhouses from as far as your eye could see.
Put in Germany.
Put
They have
put
20-story buildings.
Yes.
20 stories of food.
Yeah,
20-story
I'm telling you,
buildings.
If you invest in agriculture, $5 billion in the budget, take that money, you put it in crime or whatever, and put it in agriculture. You have more people working.
No, but you don't need it. I
And
want to show
have
you something.
cheaper foods.
You have 90,000 acres of land that you know that exist that are mapped. The estate management, wherever, But they know the Caroni lands, they know the Clico lands, they know the Petrotrin lands. You have 90,000 acres mapped. You have 30,000 registered farmers. All you have to do is say, you, here, I will give you this piece of land here, this acre to use. You don't give it to you, you don't own it. Wait.
People right now.
Huh?
It's flood proof now.
No, that's right. You gotta plan. Listen, I just want to say, all you have to do is plan the whole country. Where have flood, you go in Reis. Where don't have flood, we go in Pump City, Papa, go over. But you can't just do it by VAPs. When you're talking about education, and we're talking about your education system, your primary must feed your secondary feed your tertiary. Your tertiary education feeds what you asked for earlier. What's the vision of the country 10 years from now? Where do we want to go?
Thank you.
Where do we want to be? So let us train our people.
And that is why I envision a society maybe it's way out of, like, we can't. You see, when I saw that Mr. Selby, regardless of what you might feel, when I saw that Mr. Selby Wilson was part of the committee from 2020, because in Trinidad and Tobago, if you are not aligned to a political, for example, somebody like me, I have a lot of ideas in terms of social development because I've implemented in other countries. But chances I will never get a chance to implement it because I'm not PNM enough and I'm not UNC enough. The UNC don't trust me because they think I'm PNM. The PNM don't trust me because they think I'm UNC. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You don't need to be none of that. So we need to have what I envision called and the government that does that, we will see a change. The citizens think tank, where we engage our citizens. And that is something I had suggested to the partnership, and Mr. Tanku conveniently lose my email. That I said that I thought how we was going to engage the citizens.
No, you see.
Because there are many people that are not politically
you're going to bring me into the politics. And I want to remind Trinidad and Tobago that when Stephan, Reis and I conceptualized this show, I promised Stephan this could never be a political show. But I want to say, every time, okay, so I want to tell you this. One of the Progressive Empowerment Party policies is something called the Activist Council. And the Activist Council is to assemble on a monthly or bi-monthly or fortnightly all of the activists in the country that want to sit on the council, pay them a stipend, feed them a lunch, give them an open microphone, speak to the ministers, bring the cabinet. So
that is the same thing that I will have
called
the gong swell.
Good.
I will have presented to the people's
And I'm not saying that we invent the thought.
And why that? Well, because there's really no original.
There's no original ideas
Everybody is because what people think it. And who execute first.
Success leaves clues.
So
success leaves clues. Look for where it's working and copy it.
What gave me the idea for the gong swell is in 2010 when the People's National Movement lost the elections. The Honorable Member of Parliament, Diego Martin East, at the time I think it was, came and he said he doesn't know what happened because as far as he was concerned, they were leading up to Saturday. So that, whether he was lying, talking the truth, trying to save face, that statement on a face value said that they were out of touch with what was happening because the gong swell, we were already upset about Call the Heart and Pest and whoever else they want to take it. He's now saying he was shocked. So that then I say, you know what, the government then need to have that connectivity on the gong. So when there's that gong swell taking place, you are in touch with your people because that's what we put you there for. And you engage people in the communities, and then those people interface with your technocrats, and we roll out ideas. Because when people living in a situation, they tend to have different ideas, and sometimes it could cost the taxpayers no money. They're willing to be a part of the solution. So, for example, our organization would have bought in a housing company. We paid the money for the architect, pay ticket, pay accommodation, everything. I keep in mind me. We had a meeting with social development, to bring low-cost housing for under 100,000.
Okay, and you know what you know why the conversations are happening? Because when you tell them to bring low-cost housing, what you have to do is look at what are the things that drives the price of housing up in the first place. Go and look at all the ways we tax.
We already bought the system into the country at the point in time. The architect was willing to execute for less than 100,000.
In 10 years,
hurricane-proof, earthquake-proof.
In less than 10 years, what I watched happen was one company get to control the construction industry. Yeah. So if you are to buy blocks, cement, sand, wherever, it going to one person. I don't know if you can unplug that, or if not, we are a wrap. Ask Satish if you can unplug, turn off the breaker. But anyway, I guess we had to be able to say That beat must be God saying,
Now, well, we're supposed to wrap, because we're 6:31.
Bring it to a close.
So we're going to get some closing comments. We'll start with ladies first. Avanel, we know you had to go.
Well, I'm always happy to be with you, gentlemen. I learn a lot, and I think our strategies, our way of doing things, or hope. My vision is not just to be in a particular political party, but to work with whoever the government is. And I think there must be, if we want to release the development, there must be platforms for citizens. If you want to call them non-aligned, whatever, to really, and this suspicion we have of people needs to stop, because sometimes a man have a real good idea, and the government of the day does not engage that person.
Can you envision a Trinidad and Tobago that does not have the shortcomings that you're trying to overcome?
Yes.
With a PNM and a UNC, identity politics, insular, divisive, separationist. Can't you envision a Trinidad and Tobago where the people of this country can take themselves away from?
I dream of it every day. I dream of a country where people, where there is some kind of person, I'm a citizen, I have an idea, I don't feel like my idea is just relegated to putting it on Facebook. But there is some kind of thing within my community that engages me and makes me feel like what I have to say has some kind of value. You're going to get a
to see
different
a
kind of
billboard,
citizen.
but Avanel will fix it.
Today had a really exciting program. I just thought that we need to crystallize some of the ideas we had. We had Mr. Narensing. I think he brought some interesting perspective to the program, and I would really like to have that kind of discussion so we could understand how people operate, how people, the value of people in society from a human resource perspective, from an industrial relations perspective, and how we could move Trinidad and Tobago to the next level.
All right. Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think we need to move the place in a more positive direction. Too much, so much negativity happening now. And you know that negativity is what people is, you know, they attract them. So they gravitate towards it. But we need to start a more positive conversation. We need to end this kind of division. But we need to start asking the very important questions. And the question that I really want people to start with today and think about it over the weekend. Just want to take you back to that commission inquiry, right? And just ask yourself this question, because I asked myself this question since February. Given what the men went through, how they were left there to die, the delay, how they stretch out this thing and start this inquiry that is really not needed, the collapse of any sort of investigation, what the chairman, Queen's Counsel Lynn said yesterday in terms of the basic resources not being afforded to him. Ask yourself this question. People only go through or go to those lengths to disrupt something if they're trying to protect something or someone. So I have been trying to figure out who or what they're trying to protect. And I really thinking about that. And I might have a few thoughts in my head that I will not say, but I'll leave it right there. I want people to think.
I want to promise you that I have all of the footage, and the country is aware of what went on in Paria because of all of that footage that we took on all of those live videos. And long after the stunts and all of the farces and all of the misfires are done, we are not, see, same way we're not letting go of Andrea, we're not going to let go of those divers. And I want to give Trinidad and Tobago my word. I was thinking back.
Ashanti's birthday was earlier this week.
Ashanti's birthday.
Yeah.
I was thinking when Avanel was talking, and we're talking about the activist council and groundswell and ways to get people involved. And you know what was crossing my mind, girl? I was thinking about all of the activists that just gone quiet. They just get fed up. Some have left. I think of those who have died, who've not gotten to see the promise
Because it's exhausting.
of this blessed paradise. I want to
salute Mr. I don't always agree with everything that he does. Mr. David Abdullah celebrated a birthday this week. I don't agree with everything that he does or says on his position, but I was thinking about a man who has been out there for so many years, knocking at things. And I was looking at his gray hairs and thinking, boy, that must have been a beating. Whether you like him, you ain't like him. Just, look at all the different things, the times he got arrested, over the years, all the different things, what he's trying to do now with the progress movement or whatever he's trying to do.
MSG.
No, he has something else that he's trying to do.
He has something
yes,
else
he has
now?
something else, yes.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Bring in a collectivism of activists and
Okay.
people who feel citizens who just want to have a voice about a number of different things in the society. So it can't be easy. It can't be easy because you could feel like you're hitting your head against a wall.
I just want to add, and maybe this is my closing, that we, to our peril, do stand together. You know? And if we don't understand this, my phone, and I am sure yours, does not stop with people when they realize that the systems that they believe, the first time people come into the void, because they always put us on blast, you know, like they've just discovered public health doesn't give a crap about you. They've just discovered, I am saying now here 3 days now, and I want to tell them, look for a guy in a blue shirt, he just messaged me, he there 5. The people who just step into the void, that went to the police station to make a report, the police station said they have no pen, they have no paper, they have no receipt. There are people waiting for a character, certificate of character in this country about 2 years now, they can't get it because it's not working. There was a little while ago in Trinidad and Tobago, the people she was talking about who have cancer, they couldn't get chemo for about 2 weeks. Life-saving, couldn't get it, didn't have it.
People
In
apply
Trinidad
for
and Tobago,
NIS.
the paradise that is this country. Singapore don't have what we have, Finland don't have what we have, Norway don't have what we have, Dubai don't have what we have. Dubai have to make magic to look like Trinidad. How Trinidad has grown natural. Where we are in the world, our position on the planet geographically, our climate, everything about this country, I believe, is biblical Eden. We have the best of everything in the world. We in Trinidad and Tobago have it and destroy it and then go in our next man land and hush him out so that ICE don't come and find we and kick we out. We supposed to use the power of our vote and our voice and to stand up. You know Avenel, you know Stephan, you're getting to know Stephen Matterson, you know me, and you find people like us. It's because you know to find somebody give me a number, boy. Somebody say you're gonna help, somebody say helping people. But you wasn't thinking about us when things was good. When every post on your Facebook is the barbecue and the drink and the party and thing, and now all of a sudden you're holding your head and balling. You want the rest of society to hold their head and ball with you. We have to become a collective again. You said it earlier. Family, all of you all. We have to be a family. We have to be a family of people. Race does not belong in the conversation.
I think something we could start to do that's becoming, if we could have, like, I don't know, a national cleanup competition or something. Those simple things that we could, because that is in our part, to begin to lift ourselves. In the Digo Martin, if you go to Digo Martin now, just close to the corporation office. To that side and to the other side, there are huge mounds of garbage. Like whoever it is have to, in authority, has to pass that garbage in Digo Martin.
I do a video outside the Digo Martin Regional Corporation where somebody who is living next door to the Digo Martin Regional Corporation up in beyond the water wheel.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. You see garbage to the
So
left
check
there?
this, right? So she living next door. Them are man breeding dogs for security food.
394, 2042.
A man breeding dogs for security food. So you have about 20 dogs in the yard. So I stand up outside there and the smell of dog crap is like a cough in your face. They next door to the regional corporation. So I go with them with a live video to the regional corporation. I'm talking to somebody on a step. Nobody invite me upstairs on the step. She said, we are not that regional corporation. We don't take care of that. I said, well, you always take care of everything outside. So I said, well, come and see this because the whole pavement they said. She said, no, we're not in charge of pavement. So you are the regional corporation that not in charge of pavement.
Those pavements are the worst.
But you can't call the regional corporation that is and say, yo, outside,
yeah.
You not in charge of dog shit. And a man having 20 dogs in the yard terrorizing the neighborhood. But you can't pick up the phone and call the regional corporation and say, yo, come and see what's going on here. They are lying to the people, and the people are so punch drunk. I don't know if they've beaten us stupid. You know when Keith Rowley had had bring up this thing from roots. And he show when Kunta Kinte get beat until he say his name is Toby. And I wonder if Keith Rowley doesn't have a sense of irony. That's what they're doing, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They're beating them. Call member beating you until they say, no, I don't need a freaking car. I go walk. I will never be able to afford gas again.
Exactly. Exactly.
The country is broken. We have no money, we have no income. The average person, the average parent, if you ask a child, where you want to be when you grow up? I don't know, a fireman, a lawyer, a doctor. We have no vision for the nation where it want to go. If you land in New Orleans, they are Mardi Gras and Tabasco. If you land in Atlanta, they are chocolate and Coca-Cola. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? If you land in Italy, Sicily, in Spain, Barcelona, everybody have an identity of who they are and what this country does. We make cheese, we make fine wines, we olive oil, we aerospace, what does Trinidad do?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And
we have nothing.
You know, just as you're closing here, it have a video everybody circulating with Steve Harvey. A little minute 18-second video where he talk about Dubai. And he was so amazed at what they did in 50 years. What they accomplished in 50 years.
Insane!
And this morning I was making a point. I said, I played the video this morning and I was making a point. I said, think about this. They're in the desert. And they have better water supply than us. And we're surrounded by water.
And if that is not a reason for you to stand up right now, open your wallet, take out whatever party card you have and cut it up. Think about your children. Think about your children's future. All the parents, watch me, 5,000 parents feel okay at SCA time, 15,000. Think about that. Think about yourself and your children and their future. Think about it. We cannot continue to live like this. We wrap it up.
And just a quote, Steve Harvey in our clip. He say, money don't create vision. His vision is make money.
Indeed.
That's right.
We in the rum shop.
That's right. We out for today. Until next week, Thursday, people. Who knows?
Thank you, Avenel, for taking the call.
Nice. We go on. Welch? All right. See ya.
I go drink today. We in the rum shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. We in the rum shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. We in the rum shop.
Yeah.
We in the rum shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring around, bring it come in the rum shop talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So bring around, bring it come in the rum shop talk.
Yeah. Yeah.